place of the injured Christian Norgard. In Rugby Union, head coach Alex Codling is leaving the Newcastle Falcons. Mickey Ward will take over temporarily before the former Sale and Worcester coach Steve Diamond joins as consultant director of rugby. The Falcons, of course, have a European Challenge Cup match in Perpignan on Sunday. We will have commentary via the BBC Sport website and that will kick off at 1 o'clock. In basketball, the Newcastle Eagles are in BBL Trophy action tonight. They face the Leicester Riders.
Good selection, but why play Sale on right hand side of the fence when he's clearly
in snooker at the World Grand Prix, Wallsend's Gary Wilson lost 5-1
Gordon,
to
makes sense to me that, like Jack Clark, thanks. Welcome anyway, mate.
Ando, we can let you go this evening. Thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, Simon. See you. Enjoy.
What are you going to do with your weekend off, Ando?
Oh, I'm sure I'll find plenty to do.
It's not really a weekend for the golf course, I don't think, is it?
No, but I'll find plenty to do.
You'll find alternative amusement.
Will indeed, yeah.
Okay.
See you later, lads. Take it easy.
Talk to you again next week. Let's just do a couple more quick messages before Kieran and Barnsley then take you up to 8 o'clock kickoff tonight. David in Durham says, it doesn't matter, Kieran, who's manager or coach of Sunderland. It could be Beale, it could be Pep, it could be Klopp. The same problems will arise like they did for Alex Neil and for Tony Mowbray. They ask for money to be spent to bring in experience and they are told it's not happening. The club will not go anywhere as long as Speakman and Dreyfus are there, says David, who's in Durham.
Well, I mean, I think some people would say I'm mitigating on behalf of Christian Speakman, but I suppose if the grievance that some fans have is financially based, then I don't think he can be held exclusively responsible because he's obviously not the main benefactor. But I think that he's obviously the one that's doing the bidding and the one that's very much in the public sphere. And, you know, I don't know if there comes a point where Christian Speakman or others within the footballing operation would have the courage to go to Carol Dreyfus and say, look, if you want this club to be promoted, if you wanted to compete at the highest level, then there's going to have to be some form of meaningful expenditure that goes beyond a focus on youth and bringing in players who are on, in footballing terms, relatively poor contracts. And I think that because of what happened in the build-up to the Derby match in the FA Cup, I felt, and perhaps still do, that if Carlo Dreyfus was, you know, if he was genuinely affected by all of that and he wanted to engage in some form of redemption regarding the supporters, then I believe the best way to do it is to show some conviction, show some authority, show some intent that promotion as soon as possible is the primary focus. And I think the only way you could do that, the only way you could pacify and placate the masses, would be to go out and engage in some serious expenditure.
If you want to send messages during the game towards the end of the first half, I'll be able to read some out at half time. I'll be having a quick chat to Kieran, bring you some of that Jordan Henderson media conference as well at half time, and we are on air tonight until 10:30 as well, so you'll have a chance to have your say by either giving us a call or sending us a message after the match as well. 08000 321 333 on WhatsApp, 81333 on text. In either case, start your message with the letters BBC. With kickoff little over 20 minutes away, Barnsley and Kieran will take you up to kickoff next.
Matt Bailey at breakfast. A woman from Winlayton got a handbag stuck to her nose. She joins me on the phone this morning. How on earth did this happen?
I pulled the bag up to take it over my head as I was getting ready to drive, and I must have pulled it up with a lot of force. And I looked at me because now I had my bag stuck to my nose. Ended up having to go to the local Hogan Centre and get it cut off. She was like, hi, can I help? And I says, yeah, I've got my bag stuck to my nose. And you could see she just wanted to burst out laughing. She was like, I'm so sorry, I actually thought there was something wrong with your mouth and that's why you were hiding behind your mouth.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Weekdays from 6. BBC Radio Newcastle.
Total Sport North East.
The sound of.
The sound of Sunderland.
Ahmad into the penalty area, still going on his left.
Unbelievable! He's a little magician. Clark's still got the ball, edge of the area, right foot. It's 3-0 and Jack Clark has curled it into the bottom corner.
Great sport kicks off here.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
So in the Benno seat tonight, not so much the hot seat, it's not the temperature for that. Kieran Brady, the last time we did a game together, it was sunny conditions. It was Accrington Stanley, wasn't it? It was a pre-season.
It is in complete contrast, Nick. That pre-season friendly at Accrington. You and I done it in our mankinis.
We did.
We
did. And what a sight that was to behold.
An Accrington fan turned round at some point and got an unfortunate glimpse and is still in therapy.
Well, it's those three old ladies that sit in front. I don't think they've ever recovered. They've never been the same since. Good to have you here tonight, Kieran.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you for standing in.
That's no problem.
Or sitting in.
Regardless of the adverse conditions and the coldness, which we're all accustomed to in this part of the world, this is a game to look forward to. The crowd's building up nicely. And it once again looks like it's going to be a very healthy crowd. But again, what would we expect? We wouldn't expect anything else from
a healthy crowd. Somewhat on tenterhooks, perhaps, with the way things have been going of late. The Sunderland team, and we'll hear from Michael Beale before kick-off. We'll also hear from Mel Ray. They've got a big game tomorrow, Sunday afternoon. I keep thinking I'm all thrown when you have a Friday night game. It's not right. Sunderland women play Sunday afternoon at home to Sheffield United women. We'll hear from Mel Ray shortly. The Sunderland team then, because of Elise's injury, Silt comes in, Ballard, O'Nien, Hume, Patterson in goal, of course, Neil, Ekwa, Pritchard, Jobe, Clark and Rusin. There's a certain familiarity about the team, and what's interesting, I think, is when Michael Beale was appointed, we heard stories that they're going to sort of take it up the next notch. There'll be changes, there'll be tactical changes, maybe. This is a coach to have come in and taken it to another level. Well, it's plateaued out, hasn't it? We haven't seen it taken to another level at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be dismissive or denigrate Michael Beale in any way, because I believe there's a lot to admire about his pathway to senior management. This is not someone that has been fast-tracked. It's not someone that has been a beneficiary of a very stellar playing career and consequently been appointed to a senior position. He's done it the hard way. He's worked his way up. He obviously served his apprenticeship under Stephen Gerrard and then of course set out on his own at QPR. So to that end there's a lot to admire, but I still think that some of the attributes that you can have that will make you a good and successful and sustainably so manager certainly remain they remain a hot source of debate, and he still doesn't strike me as somebody who could possibly inspire.
I was going to say, he is not helped, is he, coming in on the back of Tony Mowbray, who was largely popular with supporters.
Absolutely.
A, because he was a good coach, but B, also he was a character, he had a personality, he understood, everybody loved Tony Mowbray. Michael Beale's come in. He's personable, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't got that personality. He's not got that charisma that Tony had, and it's a hard act to follow.
And I mean, not only that.
So, hello, Helpful Viper, how are you doing? Here we go, hello,
Tony Mowbray at times could come across as quite downbeat.
Derek says 2-0 Rushin and Clark. I'll take that indeed.
The one thing we knew from Tony Mowbray, even before he arrived here, was despite his big, rugged reputation as a rough, tough centre-back, he had his sides playing a wonderful free-flowing football that was often blessed with an end product, and it might have, to use your term, plateaued over the course of the early part of the season. But Michael Beale has come in and inherited a squad and taken the reins at a club where, in a footballing sense, not everything was wrong, I suppose the one thing that Michael Beale will have in his favour, which ironically enough you could argue Mowbray did, was in having managed in Glasgow, they've got some experience of managing in arguably the most pressurised environments in the world. So to that end, he might not be deterred by the odd poor performance or the odd unwanted outcome. But there's going to come a point where things are going to have to change, and on a consistent basis.
And the other side of it is, and we don't know yet because he's not been in the building long enough, Tony Mowbray was very much an arm around the shoulder type of coach. Very, very good with the young players, equally as good with the senior players. He left them to take charge, if you like, of the dressing room, whilst understanding the needs of the younger players.
Out the playmakers.
Get the impression Michael Beale's not that sort of coach, and that will be an interesting dynamic going forwards.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing would be that Michael Beale will have to earn respect, whereas I think Tony Mowbray would almost have it as soon as he went into any dressing room, simply because of the experience he has as a manager. And don't forget, Nick, football players talk to each other, they communicate with each other irrespective if they're playing for rival clubs. And Tony Mowbray's reputation within football and within players, particularly younger players, I think is very positive. Michael Beale, of course, still maybe has to earn that, because he didn't have a particularly high-profile playing career. He is still very much in the infancy of his managerial career, so he's going to have to earn his stripes, so to speak. And you know, you want to do that sooner rather than later, and you want to have the trust, particularly of the senior professionals in the dressing room, because all of those things, if they're not secured, can lead to, you know, the dressing room being split, divided, etc., and that can be difficult to retrieve if it becomes fragmented.
Indeed. Let's hear from both coaches then, the head coaches of the Sunderland women, the head coach of the Sunderland men. Firstly, let's hear from Mel Ray. They've got a home game with Sheffield United women on Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock at Eppleton. Not the best of starts to the restart, if you like, having lost to Southampton 2-0 in the FA Cup. And before the Christmas break, they of course lost 3-0 to Birmingham City. Here's Mel Ray.
Yeah, obviously a good performance at the weekend against Tottenham. Took Tottenham all, 96 minutes to score a winner. There's no easy games, and that's the competition that we're playing in. That's what everyone wants to be part of, and we've got aspirations within the squad for it to go even higher again. So, we need to dust ourselves down and not feel sorry for ourselves, because we haven't lost anything, and we need to make sure that we're really at the races on Sunday, or we will be punished. I think there's you can't get too carried away when you win, and you can't get too upset when you lose. You have to have that steady state, and the squad have trained really well yesterday, and we've got another couple of sessions before we go into the weekend, so we just need to get across to them what we want them to do, and what we want them to carry out on Sunday, and hopefully they can get more over the line and get some points on the board. Hopefully now that we've got some momentum, we can get a win under our belt and really kick on.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Mel Ray. So let's now hear on BBC Radio Newcastle from the Sunderland head coach Michael Beale.
The inevitable question, I think, in January transfer window, and the inevitable number 9. Is there any movement, any sign of anybody coming in?
Nothing to report, same as last week.
Presumably then nobody out either?
No, nobody out either.
When you look back to the weekend and the game before, we've talked about the bench and the lack of the ability to change things during the game. And you said last week you've been around the squad, you've spoken to all the players. How do you deal with sort of some of those younger players, maybe the foreign players, that are on the bench each week and perhaps thinking they're not going to get an opportunity, not going to get a chance?
What's your prediction, mate? I'm confident the two
Dembele hadn't played much football, so we sent him to play with the under-23s. He got an assist.
Derek Highcabby, strong side tonight, looking good to me.
The sort of the brightness of that, what that's given those
absolutely.
two. So that's the reason they get in trouble.
He did play okay though, bar against
working ever so hard every day in training. Rusin the same. I've been pleased with Rusin since I've come into the club. He's played more, obviously, of late with me being here than maybe previous, and he's got a goal and he works hard for the team. There's a little bit with a connection with the language, but that will take a little bit of time. Nothing I'm worried about. And then Semedo's trained better, and I think there's an adjustment. So we're working with those boys all the time. I think also it's overlooked really. We lost Niall Huggins in my very first game, and he was an important player for us in the first part of the season. We've not had Dennis Sirkin as well, and we've lost Bradley Dack and Pat Roberts. We've lost 4 starters in my opinion, and so naturally any squad in our league, when you have injuries like that, it's going to impact the impact of your whole squad. Certainly our squad with young players, but in terms of the boys that are here working, The training levels I've been really pleased with, and I'm working away with those guys. They're certainly the eyes on the future of one or two of them. You know, if we get put in now with the pressure of playing for a club our size, maybe we'll kill them a little bit. So you just got to trust our judgment that we're working away, and they'll get there.
You talk about the club this size, and there are tensions. You know, you can't escape that at the moment for one reason or another. Do you remove yourself from those tensions because you can't afford to get wrapped up in what's happening outside?
I think, look, when the season started or when the boys come back for pre-season on 28th of June, where we are now in the league would be, okay, game on. So the positivity around the team inside the building has to stay the same, and I'm sure the team will get great strength off the fans in the next 2 home games. We have played 3 out of the last 4 away from home in the league. Our away form earlier this season has not been top. If we're being honest, we went away to Hull, a team around us, and have won. We lost a really tight game at the weekend to find margins, and I think, you know, it was disappointing coming back. But the positivity the group's shown this week, we have to go into the Hull and then Stoke game, the next 2 at home, and perform. And if we do, we're in a fantastic place.
Normally end up on bench. Oh, that's strange.
Implement new ideas. How much can you implement when you've got sort of restrictions in one sense with the squad that you've got, because you need more numbers, you need sort of variations? I mean, how hard is it to try and change things, if you like?
God, and see
well, there should be a lot of
clarity,
because if you've got less players, then the focus of those guys playing, the clarity in the relationship
should have thought about what they were
really
for.
strong.
Yeah,
so I'm pleased. Look, as the month goes on, if we can get 1 or 2 in, there's people working so hard in the background and probably won't get the credit of that until 1 or 2 come in, but I assure you people are working really hard. It's important for me and my staff, we focus on the players that are here in front of us and getting the best out of them. Then anyone that comes in can add to that. Likewise, we don't want to be waiting for something that doesn't arrive.
I mean, it sounds like a bit of a scratch record, and it's probably beginning to frustrate you because everybody's concentrating on this number 9 issue, but Dan Neil said after the game at the weekend, you know, sometimes we've got to look beyond that. The rest of us are culpable in terms of coming up with goals and changing games as well.
Well, it was a tight game away from home against a team that's lost the least games in the league. I think we conceded with 15 minutes to go, but it's fair to say before that we had the biggest chance of the half, and even after that we have a chance where 1 or 2 players get in each other's way. So it's disappointing to come back from that. We now go into a home game where we really want to push and get the 3 points, and that's the focus really. I think with the Championship, everyone can beat everyone. I think that's when you look at the league table and you see how many defeats people have. And if you look at our record, is it 12 wins, 11 defeats? Well, it tells you we have to be at our best. We can beat anybody. We've beat a lot of the teams around us, Hull just previously, who are neck and neck with us really in the league and pushing for the same ambition. So what we can't do is dwell on a result. We have to just go into the next one. And that sort of mental resilience and stamina is going to be very important in the next 3 or 4 months.
You talk about players coming in, players coming back. Jay Mattetti's back in the room, so to speak, on the bench at Ipswich. Does he give you a little bit more freedom now in midfield, because the workload on Ekwa, Neil and Job has been heavy, to say the least, and Dan's 22, Job's 18. It's a big ask.
It is a big ask. If you ask them, they just want to play. You know, you ask them, they're living their best life. If you want, they're playing. They're challenging themselves each week. Most weeks they're excelling, so they won't want to rest. But certainly having Jay available and hopefully when we get there, Corey and and Embo coming back and young Matty Riggs as well. I think Riggy. We've got his name wrong there, Chris Riggs. I know a different boy named that. So when Riggy's back, Riggy's shown some really nice things, but he's 16. So, you know, that's the nature of our squad. I think, again, I'll go back to the players, the 3 or 4 that we've lost. That's not helpful at all. So hopefully the one who's closest to coming back in a couple of weeks will be Paddy, and I think he'll really help us as well, because that frees up maybe Pritch or Abdullah.
Good evening, Paul. You gone for 2-0 winner.
He scored twice for us. Fresh in the memory. Close game again, and I suspect it'll be close again on Friday night. There won't be much between you.
No, there won't be much between. There'll be a lot of games like that between now and the end of the season. That's why we were disappointed, and the frustration was shared in the dressing room amongst ourselves. It stays there. We have to go into the next game, but for us to lose a tight game on a set play, That's where the frustration was coming out of the game. We can miss chances and things like that, but to lose such a tight game on a set play, just before I come in, we beat West Brom, but we got the first goal from a set play, so you know how important those little isolated moments are in the game. I thought our performance away at Ipswich for the main part was good. To lose it was really disappointing, because I think there'd have been a lot of positives if we'd have got obviously a result there. The focus now is on these 2 home games. As I say, 3 out of the last 4 away has not been kind. Now we've got 2 really big games at home, and we know Hull well, and we put in an excellent performance at their place.
And I know it's a football cliche, and I suppose it's inescapable in so many ways, but do you see these 2 games as must-win games?
No, in the 19 games coming, if I say that, I can create a mini crisis. Every game at this football club, the fans say is a must-win, so I support that, and the players do as well. Let's just play the 90 minutes that are in front of us. I think sometimes with a young group, you can start looking at 19 games when actually the one you've got to play next is the most important. So let's focus on Hull on Friday night. It's another game on Sky. It's another game for our team to showcase themselves, and let's get a positive result. That means that will put everyone else under pressure on Saturday from their fixtures.
Total Sport North East.
Live from the Stadium of Light.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Kieran Brady with me tonight. That's Michael Beale. That last question, must win. I know I said it's a cliche, but I think it's pertinent at the moment where Michael Beale is.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a must-win game?
I think it is, because he's certainly not yet acquired the trust of, I would even say, a majority of the Sunderland support. Of course, you could argue that the 3-0 scoreline flattered Coventry on the day, but that was a particularly poor start. And then, of course, the defeat against Newcastle, which I think when you look at it from a Championship v Premier League perspective isn't at all bad, but I think on the day how insipid the performance was hasn't helped. But of course the objective at the beginning of the season wasn't to play Newcastle once, it was to try and make sure that they play them twice next season, and that is still a reasonable prospect. But it is, you know, we talk about the playoffs in isolation being a lottery. It's a lottery at this moment who's going to be the teams that get into the playoffs, because there is, you know, a much of a muchness about so many of them. Sunderland undoubtedly have attributes, but I think their shortcomings and defects have been evident over the course of the season, especially the inconsistency.
Yeah, I would say Bale is going to get the sack soon.
Entered the arena. The referee's Robert Jones tonight, 36-year-old Robert Jones, all in black.
Coming to us, it's like Steve Bruce
from Merseyside. He was last in charge of a Sunderland game. Well, way back December 2021, it was the League Cup quarter-final at the Emirates when Arsenal beat Sunderland 5-1. He's not been in charge of a Sunderland game since, and I don't think, thinking back then, he'd been in charge of many before. I think it might be the only game he has been in charge of involving Sunderland, but he is just shaking hands with the players. Sunderland just work their way down the line. They'll be in their red and white stripes, of course, black shorts and red socks. And Hull City, they're wearing orange shorts, amber shorts tonight, I think probably because of the clash of black shorts against Sunderland's black shorts. They're in their amber tracksuit tops as they just do an exercise through the cones at the side of the pitch. Ryan Alsop in goal, back four of Louis Coyle, Alfie Jones, Jacob Greaves and Matty Jacob. That's 2 homegrown players, if you like, in that back four. Louis Coyle was born in Hull, Jacob Greaves was born in Cottingham, and is the son of the former Hull and York defender Mark Greaves. I don't know if you remember Mark Greaves.
Vaguely.
In the dim and distant past. But that's the back four. Tyler Morton on loan from Liverpool, Regan Slater alongside him. And now in comes Greg Docherty on the right-hand side. Fabio Carvalho, who's on loan from Liverpool. And Jason Aquilo comes in on the left-hand side because Scott Twine, who was playing there in the first half of the season, he was on loan from Burnley. He's gone back to Burnley and gone back out on loan to Bristol City. And Ozan Tufan is playing up front. Big roar, and we were just chatting while Michael Beale was playing out about the crowd. The bowl has filled out a bit, but it's not going to be anywhere near the 46,000 of the Derby or anything like that. We're nearer 38, I think, this evening, but it's still a good crowd for a cold Friday night and a match on the television.
Absolutely, and regardless of the opinions that so many supporters have, once we get to 5 minutes from kick-off and that decibel level is raised, you can hear the unison, the love and affection that exists, and it's something really that the players should see as a blessing and not as a curse.
The teams have swapped ends, and interesting, I always get fascinated by this, because Sunderland, of course, we all know they like to play from the Roker end, attacking the north stand in the second half. Well, Hull, I wonder if they've won the toss and they've made Sunderland
That's the psychology.
Change ends. It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be.
Because Sunderland will kick off, but they're attacking the north stand in the first half. Rusin in his gloves, which seems strange for a player from Ukraine. He's wearing gloves this evening, but he is. He gets the game underway. Job out to Sealt, who likewise is wearing gloves, and Pritchard in front of him is as well. It's played out to Hume here on the left-hand side, then at left-back, looking to try and get Dan Neil away on the left-hand side, just inside the Hull half, but Alfie Jones tackles him, throw to Sunderland on this left-hand side. Liam Rosenior, 39-year-old, upcoming coach, the son of Leroy Rosenior, who probably most of you remember and know as a player.
I'm just thinking, Nick, it does look like Hull could be playing a 4-4-2, something that
they may well be, with Tufan and Carvalho as the two front men.
It's an interesting acquisition, Carvalho. I think it took many people by surprise. He'd spent the first half of the season on loan in Germany, but obviously
Leipzig
featured much, but obviously a player with a lot of promise.
So a throw again to Sunderland on the right this time. Sealt back to Dan Ballard, and Ballard plays it across to Hume. In fact, the throw was from O'Nien. O'Nien's playing to the right-sided centre-half tonight. Ballard as the left-sided centre-half, which I think is the positions they were playing in at Ipswich last weekend. Yeah, Ballard was left side, O'Nien was right. So they do tend to switch depending on who they're playing. Here's Ballard, who's making his 50th appearance for Sunderland tonight. Plays the ball to Clark. Humes overlapped him down the touchline. Clark pushes it down the left, though, for Neil to run onto. And Neil seems to be pushing a lot further forward in these early stages, as Pritchard just behind him lays it off to Clark on the left-hand side. Neil's calling for it in the penalty area. Clark can't pass it inside. It's come back out in the tackle to Hume. Carvalho is trying to get Hume, but he's been caught by the right-back, Coyle. But one back by Neil. Tries to slip it inside for Rusin, but again it's cleared. Played out by Tyler Morton into the centre, Tufan, who lays this off himself to Matty Jacob, and Jacob gets it out wide on the left-hand side, where it's just tapped back by Jason Lokilo, the midfielder from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and eventually back to goalkeeper Ryan Alsop, who, like Anthony Patterson, is in light blue tonight. It's good, cleared by Greaves. Yeah, they're trying the high press, Sunderland, and Ballard's trying to play it through down the right-hand side for Job, but one back by Lokilo. He plays it back now to Jacob, and Jacob will play it back to the goalkeeper, Ryan Alsop, who missed the game on Boxing Day because of a back injury, but he's been first choice for Hull this season. And Matt Ingram has had to see out the games on the bench, but Ingram played against Sunderland in that game on Boxing Day.
I think when it goes back to the Hull keeper, Nick, it becomes evident that Sunderland are actually playing a 4-1-4-1, where Dan Neil's much more advanced.
He's much more advanced tonight, isn't he?
Certainly, yes.
And Eck was sitting well behind him, but Dan Neil has clearly got instructions to push further forwards. And the ball here on the right-hand side there with Greg Doherty, plays it inside, looking to try and get Carvalho through, and eventually back to Luke O'Nien. Hume and Ekwa just inside of him. Job is on the halfway line in the middle. Rusin forward to him, Pritchard out wide right, Clark wide left, on halfway, but the ball is back with Hume. It's 0-0, we're in the 5th minute. We're live on BBC Radio Newcastle, and it's Kieran Brady with me tonight, and not Gary Bennett. Marco Gabbiadini, it's his birthday tomorrow, so happy birthday to Gabbers. Here's Job, and he's wide now on the right-hand side, inside to Sealt in the centre circle, swinging it out to the left to Jack Clark, chests it down, brings it down onto his right foot, 2 defenders in front of him, slips it into the middle, and eventually lost by Hull to Pritchard, who's fouled, is he? And the referee's given the free kick the other way. I struggle to see how that came to be, because Pritchard, it seemed, had Hull players climbing all over him. But the free kick's gone Hull's way. It's out wide on the left-hand side. Lokilo back to Greaves, back to the keeper, just outside the D, passes it to Alfie Jones, former Southampton centre-half, out to Louis Coyle on this right-hand side, back to Jones and back again to the goalkeeper, plays it out, passes it out to Greaves. Greaves forwards through the middle now to Slater, out wide to Coyle. Doherty's made a run down the right wing. Here's the Scotsman on the right, Doherty.
Hello, mate,
he's taking it to the corner of the penalty area, down the right, crosses, looking for Tufan.
Yeah, I'll just put myself on mute now and again so you don't get too much background noise from the kids and stuff, that's all. So I'm still here.
Comes back to Tyler Morton on loan from Liverpool, or Greaves and Jones, and now forwards down the right, Doherty again on the right, back to Coyle, inside to Morton, now to Carvalho at the corner of the penalty area, back to Doherty, into the centre, Slater, and Slater will play it to Carvalho again on the right with Doherty, and Doherty will play it back to the corner of the penalty area. Morton to Coyle, to Doherty, back to Coyle, slipped it in here towards Tufan, but he's lost it. It was a sloppy pass from the Turk, and then he fouls Job.
I think that's the first sign we've seen of Hull's possession, and very comfortable, but I think all in all it's been a good start from Sunderland. They've taken the initiative. Long may it continue.
I think they're trying to mix it up a bit, just to throw Hull off the scent. Ekwa plays it back. He was being pressed by Regan Slater, plays it back to Patterson, who passes it out to O'Nien, and O'Nien now is back on the left-hand side and Ballard's on the right, so that's obviously interchangeable as well, as Neil gets away through the middle here and plays it out on the right wing, and it's brought forward by Sealt, inside to Neil. Neil turns away from Tufan, leaves it for Pritchard. Pritchard urged to shoot, looking for the run of Job, who stretches in the penalty area on the right of the 6-yard box, but a little bit too much for him.
It was a lovely touch from Pritchard that allowed Sunderland to propel themselves forward.
I like it when you drive and give us updates. That's why I'm called the Macam Cabby. Cheers, Packer. Campbell, what's the general feeling? Has been ball started yet, or still too early?
So you can see now the 4-1-4-1.
Yes, yes.
He's on a hide or nothing. We never wanted him in the first place when he arrived.
Played out to Pritchard. Pritchard trying to lob the keeper, and
I think that was a shot.
He needs to do something.
I think it was. Neil was running in, but I think Pritchard was trying to lob Orsop and find the far corner. But again, that was sloppy from Hull, playing the ball out straight to Pritchard, and clearly Neil is got instructions in the game to press much further forwards and let Ekwa deal with his defensive midfield duties, and I think Sealt will be someone who cuts in as well. Clark away on the left-hand side now. He's got Jones on the back foot, 2 in front of him, a block by Morton, comes away to Hume on the left. Doherty tried to tackle him, and it's put behind by Coyle from Hume's cross.
If you can't get a good delivery, at least get a corner from it.
Well, first corner of the evening comes in the 9th minute. 0-0. Pritchard down at the left at the north end to take this first corner. Rusin in the 6-yard box. Neil is up in the penalty area. The centre-backs, it's played short to Clark. Clark now just taps it back to Pritchard behind him. He curls the ball to the far post. He's looking for Job. It's gone behind for another corner. Came off Morton, I think, on the shoulder. It came off Doherty on the shoulder of Job. And this corner will be from the right-hand side. Pritchard applauded as he goes into that right-hand corner at the northeast corner of the stadium.
Yeah, everybody needs a
in
chance.
The 6-yard box again. Neil up at the edge of the 6-yard box.
Fella.
And then a little gaggle of players around the penalty spot. Ballard and Sealt amongst them as Pritchard swings this in. Up goes Ballard, can't get on the end of it. Clark, it drops for. He's blocked for a moment by Doherty. Gets the ball, pulled back into the 6-yard box. Greaves, I think, got it full in the face, but he cleared it. Out to the touchline, where Carvalho trying to play it down the line to Morton. Morton is tackled by Jobe. It's a throw to Hull. And Liam Rosignor is very balletic between the two technical areas, trying to show someone what he wants them to do in terms of turning. And that's Lokilo, I think.
I never know if it's a good sign that a manager has to go out and give instructions in the opening period of a game, because it's almost as if some of the players...
They've ignored everything he said in the dressing room before the game.
Well, I've maybe not taken it fully on board, yeah.
I do sometimes wonder, as there's a free kick here on the touchline...
Is it just for show?
When you see a substitute coming on and they have the pads out, and I mean, how much are you taking in?
Well, I know, and I mean, there's always the danger of information overload. You know, you try and have to keep it simple as possible.
In Sunderland's case, you've got players like Aushish. I'm not sure how good his English actually is, but how much is he taking in if he doesn't understand half of what he's being told?
Of course, yeah.
Carvalho laying the ball off to Coyle on the right, just short of halfway here. Clark pressing back to Alfie Jones. Roos in between him and Greaves, so Jones forced to go wide again to Coyle. Inside then to Carvalho, the 21-year-old Portuguese on loan from Liverpool, as Kieran was saying earlier, on loan at RB Leipzig.
Yes, that's right, mate. We'll be in the playoffs if we do win
out
tonight.
Again to
we've got all the rest of the league
down the touchline, looking to try and get Doherty forwards, but too many red and white shirts around him. O'Nien wins for Clark. Clark's pulled down by Doherty in front of the referee, and it's a free kick to Sunderland.
Hull certainly have done their homework on Jack Clark. You know, I think that it's not only they know how productive he is in terms of the goals he scored, but his ability to go either on the left or on the right. Yeah.
Would you guys be happy with a point tonight then?
O'Nien plays it back to Patterson. Patterson will pass it back out to O'Nien on this left-hand side. It's played through to Roosin. Neil, made a run forwards. It's come back to Hume. He's played it across to Ballard on halfway, and now out to Sealt. Sealt back to Ballard. Ballard across to O'Nien. Hull press quickly. Carvalho is quick to try and close down O'Nien. Ekwa suddenly has 3 Hull players around him, as does Clark, has 4 around him. And he's fouled. Somewhat inevitably, I think, when you've got 4 players around you, one of them's bound to kick out. And they did. 13th minute, 0-0. Here's O'Nien. He looks up, plays it through Pritchard, through the middle. That was a good ball.
He meant that.
And Pritchard now trying to make a run through to the edge of the penalty area. Low ball struck straight at the goalkeeper. Now going back to that pass, did O'Nien intend that? I think he miskicked it.
His body shape was to loft it.
Yeah.
But you'll take it. Good opening. Alec Pritchard with a lot of directness going on to his left side, but unfortunately straight into the keeper's hands.
So playing out from the back again, but a longer ball which O'Nien spectacularly manages to somehow get across to Clark. Picks himself up off the floor, played back to Hume. Hume's looking for the run of Jobe down the left of the Hull penalty area, and he's trying to hold off Jones. Jones has won the ball, and we'll play it back here to Morton, who swings it across to the left-hand side to Matty Jacob, and away on the left-hand side goes Lokilo, and he's immediately wrestled to the floor by Sealt. But the referee, I'm perplexed by this. He's given the decision the other way again, and I don't...
That's a couple of occasions now that he's
seen something that we haven't.
Taken us by surprise.
Ballard forwards to Jobe, out to Sealt again, back to Ballard. He's told Patterson to stay and now plays it to Patterson, edge of his 6-yard box.
Evening, Derek.
Plays it out to Dan Neal, who's dropped back deep now again. Into Ekwa. Out wide to Hume on the touchline.
The way we've been playing lately, a point will be acceptable. We need to, we'll do.
Throw which Louis Coyle
of intent.
Takes back to Jones into Greaves. Rusin just in front of Greaves, trying to jog across to Jones, tries to close him down. Jones swings the ball out wide left to Lakilo on the touchline, halfway inside the Sunderland half, leaves it then for Jacob, back to Slater, back again to Greaves, and he will play it to the goalkeeper Alsop in the middle of the whole half. He leaves it for Jones, and then to the centre circle, Tyler Morton, back to Jones. And I remember at Hull, at times in the game, as the ball's floated up to Ballard and then Ekwa, they were happy Hull to come out in midfield and just pass it about.
Yeah.
And then suddenly look for a break.
I mean, there would be obviously things that would make them dissimilar, but there's certainly parallels between both the sides, and I think attempting to play possession-based and patient at times, and you know, to use that to try and then allow your more creative players to hopefully get into better positions. But I would say Sunderland, all things considered, have been the more adventurous side, albeit they haven't created much as we reach the 15-minute stage.
I mean, there's an argument they're cancelling each other out, isn't there?
Yes, yeah.
Here's Coyle. Did he keep the ball in? No, he didn't. In front of Michael Beale. It's a throw to Sunderland.
I mean, interestingly, when Hull got a throw in a few moments ago, I was trying to be aware of just how quickly they wanted to get the ball back and get it back in play, and they were, which would suggest that they're maybe going to, you know, they're not going to sit back there. There's a resolve that they can come and get something.
I think on the back of their recent results, they need a result themselves. Hull, they've lost their last 2 league games, away at Sheffield Wednesday, which I think would have been seen as a surprise, and then they lost at home to Norwich. So I think there's an urgency now about Hull with all their problems. I know with players away and injured players, but they need to dig a win out from somewhere. Here's Job. He's tackled, but he's going to try and persevere, and in the end he's won the free kick, I think. Yep, he has. He was fouled. I thought for just a moment Robert Jones was giving it the other way again, but he's going to have a word now with the yellow card.
First yellow
for Tufan, objecting and also standing and not moving away from the free kick. Tufan shown the first yellow card of the evening.
Nice to hear the legend Kieran Brady commentating. Graham Giles, hello. Another home game I can't watch as I live in Australia.
Still goalless.
Do they not stream the matches in Oz?
Tufan,
says Leighton.
Don't underestimate him. He's
Second
a Turkish
game after this one,
international,
game,
65 caps.
Stoke at home.
He's got 7 goals this season. He got a hat-trick at Sheffield Wednesday earlier in the season.
Get it.
Clark goes down, fouled by Louis Coyle.
That's the 3rd foul against Clark.
And now it's quickly taken to Pritchard. He tries to slip it through for Rusin. It will roll away from him behind for a goal kick. I guess that's maybe a bit of an inevitability on Clark when you're grouping up around him. Players are just caught and
the wee Scottish gadget is
I wouldn't even suggest that
Kieran Brady, absolute legend in the
Senior
Eddies. He's a superb player for Sunderland.
Suggested the players do. It's just at times his movement is so good that there's always going to be the chance of mistimed tackles and challenges.
0-0 then. We're in the 18th minute, live at the Stadium of Light, live on BBC Radio Newcastle, and the ball is out for another throw to Hull on this right hand side. Coyle will take it, the Hull-born right back, but for all that he was signed from Fleetwood. Takes the throw, tries to find Tufan. It's dropped for Job. Now Pritchard in the centre circle. Lays it off to Hume. Ekwa, and out to Clark on the touchline in front of the empty Sunderland technical area. But Clark carries on now. Now one of his runs into the penalty area. He tugs Coyle down.
I think the ref got that one right.
He did get that one right. Coyle just got in front of him and Clark went to pull his trousers down. Coyle sits with the referee leaning over him. Clark comes back to hoy him up to his feet. I suggest that they know each other because Coyle played at Leeds earlier in his career, so I think they'll be known to each other.
Yeah, and now Hull City's captain this evening.
Yes, yeah, 28 years old now. Born in Hull, but began his career at Leeds. So it's just, that I think that will be.
Yeah, the paths will
have crossed there as at the Leeds Academy. Two Yorkshire lads. As Clark puts the ball out, challenges Coyle, and the throw to Hull City on this right-hand side. Coyle waiting for the ball to come back.
I was at that game, Leighton, the West Ham game.
Boys down there.
It was Kieran Brady's match. He took the whole team on like he was. It
staggers me
from start to finish. I was in the road when watching
how
that.
cold it's been. They were watering the pitch.
It was either 4-3 or 3-2.
But
it was a class game.
There are obviously reasons for that.
Well, there would, and a lot of that does come from the manager. I'm sure managers nowadays take a much greater interest in horticulture and just what it would mean for the style of play.
Bearing in mind half the pitch is plastic, it does seem a bit strange. The foul on O'Nien. It's a free kick deep in the Sunderland half on the left. O'Nien just rolling on his side. The assistant has come to see if he's okay. O'Nien's on his knees, picks himself up, hobbles away. Sure, he'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's look O'Nien, isn't it?
It is. So Hume will take the free kick, 21st minute, and the game sort of dipped a bit the last few minutes. It started at sort of quite a pace, and now suddenly we've seemed to have dropped into a more methodical, slower.
See, this is okay when you're 2-0 up. In fact, it's probably advisable.
Ekwa to Neil. He's trying to spin off Jones, who's got it through to Tufan. Now Lokilo at the edge of the area, tackled by Ballard.
Well done,
Lokilo persevered, but Ballard did as well and managed to get the ball away to Sealt. And to Job, and Job will play it back to Ballard, the corner of his penalty area, and back to Patterson. And Patterson, both Carvalho and Tufan in front of him. He plays it out to Luke O'Nien on this left-hand side, now to Hume. Hume back to O'Nien, back to Patterson. Michael Beale's now standing in the technical area, his hands in his pockets. Liam Rosini has been there all game, applauds as the ball goes out on the far side, spins round and heads back to the dugout in his long dark grey overcoat. Liam Rosini, the 39-year-old former full-back when he was a player. Out to Matty Jacobs, back to Greaves. Greaves will play it back to Ryan Alsop, the 31-year-old keeper signed in the summer from Cardiff, where he'd spent a season before that. He'd been at Derby. The ball played out to Jones. Rusin tried to make a nuisance of himself. It's gone back to Alsop, out to Greaves, back to Alsop, again out to Jones. Closed down by Neil, gets it out to Coyle. Coyle forced to play it inside when Clark closed him down, and Morton gives the ball away to Pritchard on the halfway line. Pritchard turns, Slater in front of him. He plays it back into Ekwa, just in the Sunderland half. Out to Job again, forwards to Sealt, little back heel into Job. Now looking for Rusin, but straight into the path of Greaves. Greaves brings this up to the halfway line. It's given away by Lokilo, and back by Sealt to Ballard, across to O'Nien, and O'Nien out to Clark, wide on the left, trying to find the run of Hume here at the corner of the penalty area. Pulls it back to Clark, flags up, offside on Hume. Free kick to Hull.
I'm just looking at Rusin, and his demeanour at times is almost Sergio Aguero-like. I don't know if the gloves are having an impact on my perception, but at times he can walk and almost look sluggish or uninterested, and then at times he'll burst into life.
Yeah.
But it's a lone furrow for him at the moment.
It's a tough ask, isn't it? You want him to play that number 9 role, but nobody's getting the ball to him. Kick out here, it's all going wide to Clark, which is predictable, I guess. A couple of times they've tried to go down the right, but 9 times out of 10 it's looking for Clark. Coyle with a throw for Hull on this right hand side, long way in the Sunderland half, down in towards the corner. Clark cuts this out as it came back to Doherty, and Hume, well, hooks it away upfield, but there's nobody there. It drops back to Tufan, lays it off to Lokilo, and he's got an overlap from Jacob. He was going to take this on himself now. Is tackled well by Pritchard, great tackle, and given away then to Tufan. Now Carvalho, he's got Coyle making a run into the box on the right. He shoots on the angle, Clark on his shoulder, but it sails over the crossbar.
I think Jack Clark done well enough there, but I think obviously Hull would be trying to capitalise on the fact that they know Jack Clark doesn't want to ideally be running in that direction. But goal kick.
So back with Patterson, Ballard to his right, O'Nien out here on the left, calls for the ball, Hume's ahead of him, and he takes on Carvalho and takes it away down the left and tries to slip it up to Jobe on halfway. The referee plays an advantage after a foul on Rusin, and then it's hammered forward by Hume and will bounce back to Ryan Alsop, the Hull keeper. Hull all in amber tonight, Sunderland in their red and white, of course. We are in the 26th minute, it's 0-0, the ball's gone out again. Hume with the throw, back on halfway, Michael Beale trying to whip up his troops, and Ekwa from O'Nien. Ekwa lays it off back to Ballard, and Ballard to Sealt, back to Ballard. Ballard, unsure of his movements, plays it back to Patterson. See, this is where the urgency suddenly just disappears in the game, doesn't it? When both teams do it, both try and suddenly play it out from the back, can't find a route out, always comes back to the goalkeeper. Nobody's gambling on making a run forwards.
I mean, it's so risk averse at times. You know, this idea that if plan A is not working, we'll just try and do it better, rather than give some of the players a little bit of a licence to go and do something different. You have the wide players change the wings, but at the moment it is a little bit flat.
And what's happening here is Hull on the ball again. What's happening is Neil's dropping deeper again now, because he's not getting any luck going forwards.
Well, it's definitely 4-1-4-1 for Sunderland when they're defending from Hull's penalty area, but obviously once the game's in play, then I think Dan Neil might have more defensive responsibilities.
Here is Tyler Morton, plays it back from the centre circle to Jones, just outside of it, and then Greaves to his left, forwards to Jacob, and Jacob short pass to Tufan. He's on halfway on the left hand side, and he's left it for Jacob again, plays it back to Greaves, and across to Jones, and Jones forwards into Slater to Carvalho on halfway, tackled by Luke O'Nien, free kick, says the referee, to Hull. It's taken quickly and not even from the right position, but the referee's let that go. Doherty's out on the right here, lays it off behind him to Carvalho on halfway. He just taps it back to Jones. Morton's come back, calling for it. Jones still standing with it. Pritchard goes to close him down, forwards to Carvalho, out to Coyle on the right. He plays it back again to Jones, and Jones back to the goalkeeper in the D, pushing it out to Greaves. Greaves now jogging slowly forwards with the ball, short pass ahead of him to Slater, back to Greaves, back to the goalkeeper, and Michael Beale's trying to get his players to press.
See, Hull will be enjoying the murmurings of discontent that are emerging. You know, as much as Sunderland are pressing high up, there isn't any great intensity at the moment or urgency to win the ball back.
Here's Greaves again to Jones. Pritchard looking frustrated. It's just making those sort of movements with his arms as the ball's played up over the top for Tufan, edge of the penalty area. He's tackled well though by Sealt, who got his left foot in and gets the ball out only to Doherty on the right. Back inside to Morton, he lays it off to Coyle, and Coyle down the right again to Doherty, inside to Morton again, laying it back to Coyle, and Coyle out here on the right wing, Morton with him, and Morton will play it into the centre. Slater back to Greaves in the centre circle, forwards through the middle to Tufan, lays it off, but Neil might get there ahead of Tufan, but the Turk gets it back to Jones on halfway, and now to Tufan again, and he slips it through to Carvalho, tackled by Hume, comes back to Coyle, and Coyle now looking to take this on himself, leaves it for a little tap for Morton, back to Coyle, and down goes Patterson, down to his right to make the save. First save, really, of the evening, coming the 29th minute.
It was well worked from Hull's perspective. They were patient, they kept possession very well, and it's Lewis Call, the right back,
who nearly opened the scoring.
He took it early, but Pattinson done extremely well.
0-0 then, as we approach the half-hour mark. First save in the game for either keeper. Humes fouled on the halfway line, left of the centre circle.
Another booking.
It's another booking here.
It's Docherty.
Is it Docherty has got it?
I think it's the number 8, yes.
Yeah. Docherty walks away in frustration. Craig Docherty, signed from Rangers a couple of years ago. It's coming in the 30th minute. Ekwah and O'Nien over the ball. Ekwah passes it to Dan Neil. Neil out to Hume on this left wing, almost down to the corner, but he will look up and play it back to Jack Clark. Clark inside to Ekwah. Clark again, and into the centre circle to Ballard. Jobe just ahead of him, back to Ballard, and I'm getting a sense of frustration in the crowd. I think you sensed it before. And back it comes again to Ballard. Across to O'Nien, out wide to Clark. Clark now trying to get past Docherty. Coyle tackles.
And wins the throw.
Ball spinning up off Clark. Strong challenge from Coyle, but a fair challenge.
I mean, the possession from Sunderland's been reasonably good, but I think the discontent coming from the stands is much more to do with the lack of
not getting forward,
the lack of intensity. And you would forgive people if coming to watch a football match for the first time if you thought points were given for ball retention.
Now here's Rusin. The ball's broken for him. It's in the air. He heads it. Oh, he's got caught by Coyle. The referee's let play go on at the moment. Neil crosses. And it's chested into the arms of the goalkeeper, but there's going to be a booking here.
I would think so.
Coyle has got to be in trouble here. Rusin's sitting on the floor at the moment. It's a yellow card for Coyle.
I think it was reckless rather than malevolent in any way.
Yeah, but he definitely caught him in the face.
He undoubtedly... I mean, I'm just wondering now, Nick, has he actually given a foul?
Good question. I mean, he let play go on. He played the advantage.
Maybe given the advantage.
I think he played the advantage, so I think this will be a straightforward kick out from the bat from Ryan Alsop.
Well, he's taken the...
He's going to give a drop ball here, actually.
But I think Sunderland will Sunderland just concede possession to the goalkeeper, and they have.
Well, they have, yeah. I think because Neil made the run to the goal line, pulled it back. So it's 0-0. We've had 3 Hull players booked. Whether that changes their game plan in terms of...
Look, O'Nien.
Right, O'Nien's just won it back for trying to get Rusin away down the left.
Well done, Rusin.
He pressured Coyle, but
showed great upper body strength.
It's a Hull throw. Coyle now on a yellow, Docherty on a yellow, so a couple of players that might have to rein things in a little bit. Tufan as well, but I don't think Tufan will be too concerned. Coyle though, right back with Clark running it, might be.
Absolutely.
Coyle with his throw then down the right, looking for Docherty. It's flicked on by Carvalho. O'Nien's got in front of him, nods it down to Ballard. And Ballard back to Anthony Patterson. Carvalho goes to close him down. Patterson kicks out to the right, looking for Sealt, gets his head on it. It'll come down here for Jacob. And Jacob, Pritchard goes to tackle him, does it well, but the ball just slipped over the touchline. He was very unlucky there. It's a throw to Hull again, just inside the Sunderland half. The start of play, 7th versus 8th. And as it stands, Sunderland on 40 points, Coventry in 6th on 40 points, Hull are on 39 points. So either one of these can sneak into the playoffs tonight. And here's Docherty wide on the right. Coyle's made his run forwards. Tufan's going to try and pick him out in the penalty area again, but Patterson's got there first down the right, slides out and gets the ball. Coyle likes getting forwards.
He does.
Patterson rolls it to Ballard, who plays it across to O'Nien.
Coyle's now playing as a right winger because Greg Docherty's filled in
dropped
for him.
back, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Here's Coyle forwards down this right-hand side. Hume tries to get the ball off him. Coyle just lays it down the touchline looking for Morton, but Neil's got in front of him. Back to O'Nien, looking for Job in the middle. And he's under pressure from Greaves. But
that was deliberate.
Sealt. Yeah, that was deliberate. Sealt inside to Ballard, forwards to Ekwa. Ekwa hasn't really stamped his authority on the game yet. Sealt wide on the right, back inside to Ekwa, back again to Ballard, now O'Nien, and wide to Clark in front of Liam Rosenior. No foul on the halfway line. Morton brings his forwards, cuts inside into the middle now, and a little burst and a pull, a tug back.
That will be a booking, I suspect.
By Ekwa on Slater. Free kick to Hull. Ekwa's walking away as far as he can. Clark's been spoken to. He's obviously had a word.
Such a slow build-up from Sunderland, like it's
a favour.
Doesn't seem to be any urgency when we're going up front. It's more passing back and sideways.
He has escaped a yellow card, Ekwa.
I thought that would be a yellow.
This free kick then right side of central midfield, a third of the way inside the Sunderland half. We're in the 36th minute. It's goalless. One chance really for either side. Coyle through, Patterson went down to make the save. Allsop's not really had anything to do. And it's dinked down the right. They were looking for the run of Tufan, but it's cut out by Clark, by Carvalho. They were looking for.
Brilliant.
As Clark
Jack
goes
Clark.
round Morton, and Clark's
Wonderful
away now
play.
in space on the left. He's being closed down. He cuts back, and he's still trying to go on his own. He needs some help. Finally gets Ekwa, and I think an advantage again played by the referee, as Ekwa plays it across here now to Ballard and out wide to Sealt. Meantime, Hull have got everybody back. Sealt crosses. It comes down to Clark, who tries to nod it in to the 6-yard box, but it's cleared by Hull.
Exceptional play from Jack Clark.
But he had no help.
He did. I mean, initially it looked as if he went into a cul-de-sac, but he managed to come away very well.
Docherty, Coyle. Docherty and Coyle is passing between themselves at the moment, then played forward straight to Ekwa. Hume gets it into the edge of the penalty area. Clark trying to weave away through to Pritchard. Pritchard does shoot. Greaves heads it out. Slater trying to get it forwards, but Pritchard got a foot to it. It goes to Sealt. He'll play it all the way back into his own half to Patterson, who's in the middle of the Sunderland half, and then to O'Nien looking for Dan Neil, lays it off to Clark. Clark down the left-hand side. Well, he was thinking about playing it down the left, but Clark plays it back into the centre circle to Ballard. Ballard now to Job on the right. Sealt out wide. Sealt cuts inside, trying to lose Lokilo, and plays it back to Ekwa. And Ekwa now to O'Nien, and wide to the left again, Clark. Hume's ahead of him. Hume makes a run. Flag stays down. Defenders onto him straight away. Back out to Clark on the left. Clark plays it back to O'Nien. O'Nien tries to curl one into the penalty area. Headed out. Ekwa gets in front of Tufan. Finds Job. And then lays it off to Sealt. He will play it inside to Ekwa again. And Ekwa trying to play it through for Clark, but it just sails away behind. Goal kick.
Once again, nice enough football up until that final third, but maybe trying to be too precise with that final delivery.
That's a familiar sounding phrase this season.
I mean, I think that's a grievance that's expressed by football fans of so many teams, that it's just that lack of quality when they get into the final areas.
It's the phrase I've heard a lot actually the last few weeks is decision making.
Well, that as well. You know, you can make a pass and complete a pass to one of your teammates, but it might not always be the best decision. You know, there might have been something better on a half a second before or a half a second after.
The ball is back with Ballard. Now Patterson in the 39th minute, goalless, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. Here's Ekwa. Ekwa leaves it for Hume, back into Clark in the middle of the Sunderland half, back to Ballard, closed down by Tufan, wide to Sealt, closed down by Lokilo, looks to try and get it up to the halfway line, and Rusin, Pritchard wins it. Nice play from Pritchard, looking for the run of Joe or Rusin, but a little bit heavily over here. It comes back to Pritchard from the goalkeeper, though.
That's another booking
in the middle of the Hull half by Morton. No, sure, yeah, another yellow card. It's a 4th yellow card for Hull in the 40th minute now.
I wouldn't say it's been a dirty game.
It's not been dirty, is it? And that was a cynical foul.
It was
I think that was a yellow card.
Yeah, but it's
and Coyle's was before. I'm not so sure about Tufan and Doherty, but those two were certainly yellows.
Well, Alec Pritchard is lining it up with some intent, although I don't know
way out.
If Luke O'Nien has got some ambitions, and it looks like on his left foot.
Neil's.
Have they been working on something on the training ground that is going to take us all by complete surprise?
Well, it's Alessandro Baccarini who deals. He works on the free kicks. If this is a master goal, this will be his masterpiece.
You're vindicated if it comes.
You are,
off.
And you can look a fool if it doesn't. Pritchard, then it's 30 yards
out. So
it's
full or vindication,
and it's. Pritchard who lays it off to O'Nien in the penalty area, pulls it back into the arms of the goolkeeper in the 6-yard box.
I'm not going to go as far to
no
say
vindication
full,
there, but I wouldn't say it was a full. I could see they were trying something different.
Yeah. It's nice to see a little bit of innovative thinking.
A bit of invention.
Absolutely.
But it's back with Ryan Allsop, the Hull City goalkeeper, in the 41st minute, and it's still 0-0. But an interception by O'Nien. He's taking this on now to the edge of the penalty area, but it's whipped off his feet by Coyle, back to the goalkeeper.
Would that move from the free kick count as an attempt on goal? Because I think it might have been the first. Well, if not the first, maybe the second.
It's probably a tenuous.
I know, because he was trying to pull it back.
Trying to pull it back for someone to run onto it in the penalty area, wasn't he? As Ballard lands it on the head of Slater, who finds Tufan. Lokilo down the far side. Silt goes to close him down. Lokilo works a bit of space, lays it off to Jacob. Jacob back here to Slater, Morton, and back onto the halfway line. Jones closed down by Rusin. Forwards to Carvalho, out to Coyle. Clark goes to close him down, plays it back to Jones. And back to Greaves. And again, Michael Beale's trying to say to his players, push out. But Hull at the moment in possession, pushing them back, and here's Coyle on the right again in front of his coach. He plays it back under a press from Clark to Allsop, out to Jones. Jones out wide again to Coyle in front of Michael Beale, plays it down the touchline to Doherty. Doherty, Humes on his case straight away, but Doherty turns it away down the right at the penalty area, straight to Patterson. The 43rd minute now. Passes it out to Ballard. Tufan goes to close him down. Ekwa plays it back to Patterson. Patterson out to O'Nien, nearly caught by Doherty, but through the middle to Neil.
It's broke
now,
well.
Neil could pass to Rusin, but he's fouled
going to be another
by Slater,
yellow.
And it's another yellow card. A Hull going for some sort of record here.
That's half the outfield for the away side now.
It's a dangerous game to play when you're getting, if you're all your players are picking up yellow cards so easily. You can't discount a red, can you, at some point now?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Michael Beale says to the Sunderland players and perhaps how to
put
exploit
pressure on
that.
Them.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's Clark wide down the left, and he will bring this back now to Ekwa, closed down by Tufan, inside to O'Nien, wide on the edge of the penalty area on the right to Silt. Silt trying to come in past Lokilo. Lokilo stands his ground for the moment. It's played back to Ekwa just outside the box, a block by Tufan. It comes back to O'Nien, forwards to Neil, back to Luke O'Nien, and out to the left to Clark. Clark now trying to get inside away from Coyle. Coyle on his shoulder. Clark plays it to Ekwa. Out on the right, inside again to Job. Job now to Luke O'Nien. To Neil on the left. Clark ahead of him, back into the middle to Job. He leaves it for O'Nien. And back to Ballard. Ballard coming forwards and to Ekwa. Ekwa trying to find a way through. Job immediately closed down by Jacob in being forced back inside to Ekwa. Back to Ballard, and Ballard to O'Nien to his left. And O'Nien again to the left to Neil, and Neil will play it out wide to Clark. Clark, Coyle in front of him. Clark trying to find a ball in, but plays it back to O'Nien. O'Nien lobs one up for Sealt on the right of the penalty area. He heads it back down looking for Pritchard. Slater heads it away. Jobe brings it down on the right hand side, and Jobe turns inside, forced back to Ballard.
Sunderland had the ball there for about a minute, and I think every outfield player is in Hull City's half. They kept possession,
and they're still trying to find a way through this amber wall.
They look completely untroubled.
Yeah, they're getting every man behind the ball now. Pritchard's found the ball for Sealt. Back to Pritchard in the penalty area, but he's pitted over the bar.
That was a little bit more urgent.
He just suddenly accelerated.
A little bit invention.
It sped up the play, Pritchard. Lovely ball out. Sealt trying to get it back onto Pritchard's feet, the corner of the 6-yard box, but he's put it over the top. We're in the final minute of the first half. Goalless then still. Pritchard's been in a couple of times, but Allsop's not had a save to make.
And for all the bookings, I don't think we're going to have that much added.
There you go, a minute. We're into that minute.
1 minute.
And now a rare goal kick from Allsop. So the players all gather here on this near side, foot of the west stand. The kick from Allsop floats up towards Tufan and Sealt. He gets his head on it.
Good header.
And Pritchard does and finds Rusin. Rusin taking on Greaves. Greaves, well, he manages to shoulder off Rusin, just too big and strong for the Ukrainian. Comes back to Ballard. Ballard twists away from Tufan.
Well played.
Inside to Ekwa, back out to Ballard. Ballard back to O'Nien. And Ekwa's across to the left here now with 20 seconds of the first half left. Clark down the left wing. Clark now getting past Doherty. Coyle backing off him. He's rolled it through, looking for the run of Dan Neil. Greaves gets in front of him, and Allsop gathers the ball. That, I think, may be the last action of the first half. It'll be a kick from the keeper, if that.
Interesting to see
and
the reaction.
Not even that.
A mixture of applause with the odd jeer.
It's a flat response
to in many ways what was largely a uninspiring.
I'd say it was industrious without being energetic.
Absolutely, yeah. It certainly needs something more, because that minute or so before half-time characterised Sunderland with all the possession, 10 outfield players in Hull City's half, but yet Hull looked extremely disciplined, you know, extremely regimented, and didn't really look unduly concerned about what Sunderland could produce.
A great deal between the two teams. One save, Patterson made that from Coyle in the 29th minute. We've got the second half to come, of course, on BBC Radio Newcastle and SAFC.com. At the break, Sunderland 0, Hull City 0.
Total Sport North East.
Black and white versus red and white. The first derby for 8 years, and they are a division apart, so they don't enter it as equals, but they do as bitter rivals.
From the penalty spot into the bottom corner and scores. They are going through to the 4th round of the FA Cup. They are going to win a first derby since August 2011. No doubt about it. Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 3.
And I think that'll be it. It is. Pain is finally over for Sunderland this afternoon.
Total Sport North East.
Well, that's probably not going to make you feel much better listening to a clip of that. 0-0 at half-time here at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 0, Hull City 0. I'm Simon Pride. I'll take you through half-time before Nick brings you second half commentary alongside Kieran Brady, who has stayed with me before he goes to get his half-time cup of tea. And, well, there was a little bit to admire there, Kieran, but I could tell that you were frustrated, that there was just a little bit of a lack of energy, and probably a similar story to many games that we've seen this season, in terms of not really converting the possession, well, certainly not into goals, but not even really into clear-cut chances.
No, I mean, Hull look very disciplined. I think they've came expecting Sunderland to try and keep possession, but the problem is if you're too patient with it, then it runs the risk of becoming pedestrian, and at times Sunderland players have perhaps had 4 or 5 touches on the ball, when it might be better to try and do things in 1 and 2 touch with a little bit of incision, a little bit of urgency. There's been 1 or 2 occasions where they've done that. Alec Pritchard came close at the end with an opening, but all things considered, I certainly think they're going to have to up the tempo.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if they do that, they'll get the response from the stands, and then of course they can hopefully go on and, you know, intensify it. But all things considered, does Sunderland deserve to be in front? I wouldn't say so. They've had the lion's share of possession, they've had the territorial advantage, but of course it's what you do in the final third that counts.
If you want to send us a message on WhatsApp, 08000 321 333, start your message BBC, text 81333, again beginning with the letters BBC. Paul has messaged from inside the ground saying he's already heard some Tony Mowbray chants and some Beal out cries from some people. You did talk ahead of the match about things turning a little bit nasty if maybe Sunderland went behind. And I heard you say there in commentary, interesting to hear what the half-time reaction will be. I think it was more applause, to be honest, with a smattering of booing and those who were discontent making themselves heard as well a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, in some respects, the supporters doing that might come with preconceived ideas that unless Sunderland are dominating and winning, that they're going to let their feelings be known. But I just don't think that many managers now, and I think it's particularly relevant for Michael Beale, if Hull were to go on and get something from this game, especially if they won the game, the worst thing Michael Beale could do is start talking about territorial advantages and possession, because I think the fans are completely unwilling to accept that type of reasoning or excuse. You know, sometimes you just need to go back to basics, simplify it, up the tempo, try and get the crowd almost universally on your side in a vocal sense, and, you know, hopefully go from there.
Johnny B says it's got 1-0 Hull written all over it. Let's hope you're wrong, Johnny B. 5 yellow cards for Hull City, so half of their outfield players on a yellow. Was it that kind of game, or was it? There was a couple of stupid ones for not allowing free kicks to be taken, one cynical foul. There's a message that's actually coming from Richard, who says that he's watching on TV. He says that he felt that the foul on Rusin, the elbow on Rusin, should have been a red.
Well, I mean, we've only seen it once and we saw it in real time, and of course an instant replay with slow-mo and ubiquitous camera angles can allow for a different interpretation, but I think it would have been harsh. I don't think there was any malicious intent. I don't think you can always show a red card just because of a specific outcome. If anything, I think the person who's been very, very lucky not to have seen a yellow card was Pierre Ekwa. I really thought, and Nick did too, that he would be booked for hauling back the player inside the Sunderland half. But it's not been a dirty game at all, absolutely not. But in saying that, I think that most of the bookings that the referee has given the Hull City players, you know, have been justified.
Yes, so a bit of an anomaly in that respect. Kieran, I'll let you go and have a little bit of a break, get a cup of tea, and Kieran will be back alongside Nick Barnes for the second half here at the Stadium of Light. It is goalless at half-time. It might have been one for our search for a stalemate. None of us really considered that, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we will see goals in the second half, hopefully for Sunderland. There are 9 more Championship fixtures tomorrow. Now, Coventry, who were level on points with Sunderland going into this game, so as the league table stands, with this match a draw, Sunderland have sneaked back into the playoffs. Coventry would be looking to overtake them again tomorrow there at Sheffield Wednesday. Watford, about a point behind the Black Cats going into tonight's fixtures. They're away at Bristol City. And Middlesbrough also with a chance, as things stand, of overtaking Sunderland tomorrow. They are at home to Rotherham, so you would probably expect them to win that. Those are among the Championship games tomorrow. Now then, the former Sunderland and Liverpool midfielder Jordan Henderson has been addressing the media today. That after his move to the Dutch side Ajax was confirmed, and there were some rather interesting questions put to him. Firstly, he was asked about why he wanted to move to the Netherlands.
I felt as though it was a great opportunity for me personally to come to a huge club, try and help this club go forward and be as successful as possible.
I heard it has something to do with taxes, that you didn't go to Britain. But why then not Germany? Or because Ajax has the worst season in history, they're on the 5th place, and what is then the reason?
Okay, don't believe what you read in the press, I would say, is a little bit of advice. It had nothing to do with anything else other than a football decision. I'll give absolutely everything and dedicate my life to this football club to try and get it back on track and be successful as possible.
How good are you at the moment? Because you played in Saudi Arabia, I think 17 games, I heard, slow game. How good are you at the moment? And when can you play?
We'll have to wait and see. I'm ready to play as soon as possible, but obviously I've got to wait for things for like work permits and stuff first to make sure that's all good, and as soon as everything's good and ready, I'll be ready to go.
You think the English press are direct?
It's fine.
So tell us how much of this was a football decision and how much of it was a family decision, because you alluded to that on your Instagram post last night.
Yeah, it was very much a football decision. Of course, I've got to make the decision based for me, what's best for me and my family as well. But the decision to come here was a football decision. Well, I think a lot of people would probably like us to sit here and criticise the Saudi League and everything that went along with that, but that certainly wasn't the case, and that's something that I'm not going to do. You know, I've got full respect for the league, for Eddie Fat, the club, for the people over there who really made us feel welcome. But unfortunately, you know, these things in life sometimes just don't work out.
Do you accept then, you just alluded to it, that you've got a bit of bridge building to do perhaps with the LGBTQ community who still feel that you put money over morals?
Listen, I said 6 months ago that if I offended anybody or if people felt as though I let them down, then I apologise for that, and I'll apologise again. But as I said before, my beliefs have never changed, never will. And again, I can only apologise if people do feel let down, but I haven't changed as a person, never have, and I just want to continue to focus on my football and give everything I can for this great football club.
We also know you as a person who was socially committed. Did you understand, you know, the criticism also in England about going to Saudi Arabia and maybe helping them do kind of sports washing, because we all know about human rights in Saudi Arabia? Did it change your mind when you went there? Did you see other things, or you could not, let's say, regret this decision? No, that's not the case at all. You know, I went there with full commitment of trying to help the league, trying to help the club I was at, trying to help Stevie and the players when I was there, and that's what I've done for 6 months. I've committed and give everything, but like I said, things can change in football, things can happen both on and off the pitch, and you have to make a decision based on what you think's best for you and your family, and an opportunity like this doesn't come around very often. And I wanted to do it. I was desperate to come, and thankfully I was able to do that.
Some interesting stuff there. Jordan Henderson facing some, well, quite challenging questions. My favourite, I think, was how good are you now? But yeah, he answered them as best he could. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on at Ajax, who are, of course, struggling a little bit in the Dutch league. The substitutes going out and doing their warm-up routines. Everybody trying to keep warm here. It is a chilly night at the Stadium of Light. Barnsley and Kieran back with second half commentary shortly. Sunderland goalless with Hull City at half-time, just in case you are just tuning in. Now, Sunderland's women could do with a positive result, couldn't they, this weekend, after last Sunday's defeat by Southampton in the FA Cup. It's back to the Championship this weekend. The Black Cats taking on Sheffield United. Kick-off at Eppleton is at 2 o'clock, and the Sunderland head coach Mel Ray says they are expecting another tough game.
Yeah, obviously a good performance at the weekend against Tottenham. Took Tottenham all 96 minutes to score a winner. There's no easy games, and that's the competition that we're playing in. That's what everyone wants to be part of, and we've got aspirations within the squad for it to go even higher again. So we need to dust ourselves down and not feel sorry for ourselves, because we haven't lost anything, and we need to make sure that we're really at the races on Sunday, or we will be punished.
Is it important not to overreact?
I think so. I think you can't get too carried away when you win, and you can't get too upset when you lose. You have to have that steady state, and the squad have trained really well yesterday, and we've got another couple of sessions before we go into the weekend, so we just need to get across to them what we want them to do, and what we want them to carry out on Sunday, and hopefully they can get more over the line and get some points on the board.
Does it feel good to be back in the routine, if you like?
Yeah, and hopefully now that we've got some momentum, we can get a win under our belt and really kick on.
That was Mel Ray looking ahead to Sunday's game then, and also in the Women's Championship Lewis against Durham on Sunday in the FA Women's National League. A 2 o'clock kickoff at Kingston Park between Newcastle United and Nottingham Forest. That one is first against third. Whichever game you're planning to go to at the weekend, it is of course advisable to check first, because plenty of postponements due to the weather. Dorking against Gateshead in the National League, that one's still on as far as we're aware. In the National League North, Gloucester against Blythe Spartans. I think I was told earlier that the South Shields game at Alfreton is off. Yeah, it's worth checking all of these fixtures, as I say, to find out whether they are on or not before you travel. Morpeth against Ashton in the Northern Premier League Premier Division, and in the MPL East, Consett against Newton Aycliffe, Grantham Town against Dunstan, Hebburn Town against Cleethorpes Town, and Pontefract Collieries against Ashington. A little bit of darts news for you, and he's at it again. Luke Littler, the teenager, he's beaten Michael van Gerwen 8-5 to win the Bahrain Masters title, his first senior PDC title, just a couple of weeks after he reached the final of the World Championship, of course, on his debut. He also threw a 9-darter in the first leg of his quarter-final this afternoon as well, just to put a cherry on the top of his achievement. The 16-year-old insists that he hadn't thrown a single dart between the World Final and the World Series event in the Middle East that began yesterday. Now in boxing, Great Britain teammates Savannah Stubley from Blythe and Demi Jade Retson got day 3 of the World Boxing Cup underway, with Stubley progressing to tomorrow's light flyweight final. Newcastle's Jack Dryden secured a unanimous points victory over Mahmoud Al Chabtoon to seal his place in tomorrow night's.
Well, how you doing, guys?
Kieran McDonald from Sunderland. He was handed a walkover ahead of his bout with the Czech
Yeah,
Republic,
we saw slow sideways and backwards.
In rugby union, the Newcastle Falcons appointed
it's slow and it's
Steve Diamond
laboured.
as consultant director of rugby.
I think they need a bigger engine putting in, or we need to drop down a couple of gears and put our
Mickey
foot
Ward
down.
will take charge of the club on an interim basis for their games against Perpignan and Northampton before Diamond arrives. So the teams coming out for the second half. Then keep your messages coming in. I'll be with Kieran until 10:30 this evening, and Kieran and Barnsley will talk you through that second half next.
Winter.
Very wet and windy weather.
With biting winds and icy roads. When a drive to work can last for hours.
There's one car that is totally buried.
So pretty horrendous.
And snowmen come out to play.
You've got to get to the root cause of your dis-ease.
But you can only find
if
one
you're going to
glove.
find freedom.
The rain will clear and we'll have drier but colder conditions.
Winter.
Where we have the
Very
clearest
wet
skies,
and
we could see some
windy
fog development.
with biting winds and icy roads.
Set to bring more wet and windy weather.
We may even
When a
see
drive to
some
work
snow.
can last
We're
for
here
hours, so you
There's
know
one
what's
car that is
happening.
Totally buried.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
And snowmen come out to play.
You've got to get to the root
from the
cause of your
Stadium of
dis-ease
Light. You can only find
if you're
one
going to find
Radio
freedom.
Newcastle. Clear and we'll have drier but colder conditions.
Winter.
Where we have the
Very
clearest
wet
skies,
and
we could see
windy
some
weather.
fog
Second
development.
half, they're
Biting
defending
winds
the
and
ground
icy
in
roads.
Set to bring more wet and windy weather.
We may
When a
even see
drive to work can last for hours, so you know what's happening.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
And snowmen come out to play.
You've got to get to the root cause of your
Stadium of Light.
dis-ease
Only
if
find
you're going to
one
find
Radio
freedom.
Newcastle. It'll be interesting to see the conditions.
Winter.
Very
Very
wet
wet
and
and
windy
windy
weather.
with biting winds and icy roads.
Wet and windy weather.
We may
When a
even
drive to work can last for hours, so you know what's happening.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
And snowmen come out to play.
You've got to get to the root cause of your
Stadium of Light.
dis-ease
Only
if
find
you're going to
one
find freedom.
Those booked, plays it back to Allsop, the goalkeeper, and Rusyn goes to close him down. He taps it to Jones, and then out to Coyle on the far side. Clark is bypassed as it's played down the right to Doherty. Doherty leaves it for Coyle again, and then inside to Morton, who's on loan from Liverpool. Back to Jones and back to the goalkeeper in light blue. Away to our right at the Roker end, plenty of Sunderland fans coming back from the concourses at half-time around the ground, and that always gives it a slightly strange feeling, the starts of second halves. It's almost as though, I don't know, doesn't quite feel like it's got going in, doesn't it, even though there's a match taking place down there in front of us.
Well, Hull have kept possession well now for about 30-45 seconds.
And then
I thought that would have been a foul, but no.
By Clark on Coyle, but the referee doesn't think so. Clark's come away with the ball, plays it in the middle here to Job, who's immediately closed down. Tufan trying to get the ball off him, and then it's knocked away by Lakilo, and it comes back to Ekwa, and on the halfway line, Ballard, and then to 09. And I just get a sense again there, when you just up the pace a little bit and start running at the defenders, things happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, certainly Jack Clark, because that's such a strong point of his game.
Rusin's trying to hold off Greaves. Greaves holds him off, and the ball comes back to Allsop again. He strolls out to the back of the penalty area. 47th minute, no goals, and the ball just passed through the middle to Carvalho. O'Nien's on his shoulder, and Carvalho forced to put the ball away by Neil. Neil's got the ball now for Sunderland, and he's played it back a couple of yards behind into Ekwa. Ekwa now looking to get it through to Rusin. Again shuffled off the ball by Jones. Out to Tufan. Slips it to Carvalho. Now looking to try and get it back to Tufan. Carvalho is fouled by Ekwa.
And
it's
somewhat belatedly.
Yeah. The first yellow card shown to a Sunderland player in the game. Shown to Pierre Ekwa in the 48th minute.
Nothing more.
Jacob Greaves will take the free kick, and interestingly enough, he will be trying to avoid a yellow card because he's on 9 of them. So a yellow card for Jacob Greaves, and he'll face a 2-match suspension. So he's leading perhaps a charmed life because he's not one of the 5. The ball comes out to Jacob on the left, played back to Allsop. Allsop drives this upfield, looking for the run on the far side of Doherty, headed by Hume straight to Coyle, and Coyle with Doherty inside to Carvalho. Carvalho, Ekwa in front of him, plays it wide again, and Coyle will look to play this back now to Morton. Morton to Slater in the middle of the Sunderland half. To his left is Jacob. Jacob trying to get through, finding Morton. Carvalho to Coyle on the right, who puts the ball across the 6-yard box and behind.
Thankfully it went behind. You know, they huddled a few players in the box.
They did. It wasn't a greatly executed ball in, was it, by Coyle? It comes back down to decision making, doesn't it? It wasn't the best. And O'Nien tries to drive this forward up to the halfway line, looking for Rusin. Player stabs the ball away. Jones. It comes to Ekwa now. Job. Lakilo just put him off slightly, and it's with Job. And Job now to Hume to Clark, and Clark now trying to get away on this left side of the penalty area. Checks, works a bit of space here, right-footed across now, flashes past Rusin, legs apart on the 6-yard line.
The problem there was that Jack Clark momentarily was indecisive about whether to play it across as a pass or across, or whether to shoot. He'd worked a nice angle. I think given the confidence he has and the productivity, nobody would have begrudged him shooting, but in the end it's actually went out for
a whole throw in the corner. Liam Rosenior just making a few signals. It's Mike Dodd still standing at the edge of the technical area. There's the ball headed on by Rusin again, hooked away by Tyler Morton, drops for Carvalho, leaning into Ekwa, and then his foul.
That was nice skill, I have to say.
He just span Ekwa, didn't he? Knew what he was doing, won the free kick. Morton plays it out wide now to Coyle. Coyle still just back inside his own half, inside to Morton, back to Jones. We're in the 51st minute, still goalless. Greaves back to Jones, and this slow sort of methodical build up again from Hull. Carvalho comes deep and then is fouled again by Neil. It's a free kick to Hull on the right hand side of central midfield, tapped out to Morton and then wide to Coyle. Carvalho goes with him, overlaps and goes down the right wing. Here is Carvalho now, he's picked up the ball. Neil goes to close him down the line to Coyle. Coyle trying to get inside to Morton, into the middle to Slater. Slater now across to Jacob, who seemed a bit caught by that, but he's got the ball.
It benefited him.
And then it's just spun past the referee, comes to the edge of the area. Slater tries a shot, and it's a goal kick.
Oh, someone down.
It's O'Nien, I think.
O'Nien.
Patterson comes out. O'Nien
Is it his shoulder? Oh no, he's holding his left leg,
upper thigh,
the top of the leg.
He's lying on his back now. Referee's come back for a word. O'Nine's hauled up by Patterson. And it'll be a goal kick to Sunderland in the 52nd minute now. Sunderland 0, Hull City 0 live on BBC Radio Newcastle. So Patterson with the ball in the centre of his 6-yard line, taps it to Ballard to his right, closed down by Tufan, gets it out to Sealt, immediately closed down by Lokilo, and Lokilo gets in front of him, gets the ball off the Dutchman, and out trying to get it through, blocked, comes back in the end almost on the halfway line, and then played out wide on this left-hand side to Tufan. Tufan looks to get the ball through for Carvalho, but it's swept through into the hands of Anthony Patterson. 0-0 still, and you know, at the beginning of the game I thought, will this end 0-0? I'd be highly surprised if it does, but it's got that all over it at the minute.
It's, you know, there's so many similarities between the approach of both sides. There's the lack of urgency, but you can understand Hull's perspective. They would be happy to leave here with a point. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it would stop that little run for them.
Yeah.
Here's O'Nien on the halfway line, and I think, bearing in mind the players that they're without at the moment, they'd be very pleased with the point, and it's whipped behind for a corner off Clark. Corner on the left, Sunderland's third corner, their first of the second half. Yet to force a save from Ryan Alsop, so can they do so from this corner? Pritchard's gone down at the Roker end to take it from that left side.
They took the last one short from that position. I hope he whips it.
Clark's come back in here, but Neil's run across here now.
Near post, in swinger.
Here comes Pritchard, swings this in. It's stabbed away by Coyle. Free kick.
That's poor. I mean, you know that Pritchard's got the quality in those positions.
He's running back with his arms outstretched and arguing about something. He's not entirely happy, is he, Pritchard, there?
Yeah. I'm still unconvinced that he enjoys playing as wide as he is. You know, that's. I mean, he's doing a manful job. You know, he's
Job's in that role, and
yeah.
Here's Coyle on the right again, down the touchline. Doherty back to Coyle. Coyle back again, and eventually back to Jones and the goalkeeper, and out to Greaves. Greaves back across to Alfie Jones. Jones pushing on, playing it just back here to Morton, who lays it off to Greaves again on the left, looking for the run of Tufan, and it drops over the shoulder of Lokilo, and Sealt managed to get a head on it and can't keep it in, but the offside flag is up. So it is a free kick in the end for Sunderland. It's going to be taken wide on the right by Jensen Sealt. Job jogging back infield, Ekwa ahead of him, Pritchard down the touchline. It's passed back to Ballard across the penalty area to Luke O'Nien. Forwards on the left, and Doherty intercepts, gets the ball off Hume, finds Carvalho. O'Nien's trying to get the ball off him. He's gone down clutching his face. The referee's watching it and taking no action, and eventually O'Nien sprints to his feet and can't keep it in on the touchline. And he's now just rubbing his face.
He's in the wars again.
He is. The referee remains unmoved. Carvalho leaves it, and it comes back here now on the right and played back by Morton to Greaves. Greaves out to the left to Lokilo. Jason Lokilo trying to weave away past Sealt. Can't at the moment. Pritchard's there in front of him now as well, and he plays it back to Regan Slater. Back again to Greaves, and back to Alsop, the goalkeeper, who's standing in the middle of the whole half. He's swept it up looking for Jacob, drops over his shoulder. Sealt will deal with this. He'll let it run out for a throw to Sunderland on the right, 10 yards from the corner. Takes it back to Ballard. We're in the 56th minute, and Patterson closed down, managed to kick clear of the two, Carvalho and Tufan. Rustin goes down on the halfway line, the ball rolls back to Jones, leaves it now for Tyler Morton, taps it back to Jones, Rusin goes to close him down, to his right to Morton, who plays it back to the goalkeeper. Out to Morton again. He's actually making himself quite busy now in the midfield for Hull. Up to the halfway line, looking for Tufan. He gets it in front of Job, plays it to Carvalho. Carvalho looks for Coyle on the right-hand side. Coyle now sprinting back is Clark. Coyle checks, cuts inside. He's got Morton behind him here, and Morton looks to play it to Slater and then to Jacob on the left of central midfield, and he will play it wide on the left of Lakilo. Lakilo taking on Silt, onto his left, onto his right. He's got help behind him in Jacob. Lakilo still has it, taps it back to Jacob, and Jacob plays it inside to Carvalho. In front of him is Ekwa. It comes back through to Carvalho on the left of the 6-yard box, then Ballard clears as he pulled it back, looking for Tufan. Out to Pritchard on the right-hand side, Pritchard to Ekwa. Ekwa now forwards to Job. Job across to Hume. Hume to Clark. Now the counter-attack as Clark comes up to the halfway line, leaves it inside for Hume. Now to Job in the centre circle. Job cuts down the left of central midfield, cuts it inside to Neil, back to Hume and down the left wing to Clark. And Clark trying to find the run of Neil, but it's cut out easily by Jones. He plays it out, flicked on by Carvalho, looking for Tufan, and then back to Hume. O'Nien down the left to Clark, dribbling at Doherty. Now it's tripped by Doherty.
Who's on?
He's on a yellow, but I don't think it's going to get any further action.
Yeah, it would take a couple of mild fouls like that to come into the persistent category.
Well, this is an opportunity. This is a yard or two left of the penalty area, 17 yards out. Pritchard will fancy this. He'll try for a top corner.
I think, you know, this is one, especially with the line that Hull have taken, you get players running across the goalkeeper, and then if somebody knocks it in inadvertently, it doesn't matter. But Pritchard's got to be aiming.
He's going to try for the top right
for
corner,
the back post, yeah. Now, it's conceivable he gives the goalkeeper what they call the eyes and goes for the near post, but I still think you put it right across, and it could be Dan Ballard, Luke O'Nien, anyone.
At the very best, he's going to make the keeper work.
Yeah.
And that might lead to a second ball, you know. Pritchard then with the free kick from the left of the penalty area.
And stay on side.
And the goalkeeper with his arms outstretched. Pritchard drives it in. Ballard nearly got on the end of it, but the defender on his shoulder.
It's good defending.
Put it behind. It was Tufan, actually, who got his foot to it. Was down the throats of the Hull defence. Pritchard goes across then to take the corner on the left. Sunderland's fourth corner. We're in the hour.
On the hour mark.
And Pritchard again, good delivery. Rusin standing on the goalkeeper. Neil's up there too. Pritchard drives this in. It's punched away by Alsop at the head of Jones. And then half clearance from Carvalho. A chase back for Clark onto the halfway line. And played out to Pritchard, wide on the left, inside to Neil. Neil plays it back to Ballard on the halfway line, out to Silt, then out to Job, back to Ballard, Ekwa, Ballard, bringing this up to halfway, looking for Pritchard, out to Silt. Silt now a third of the way inside the Hull half, back onto halfway to Ballard. Back across to O'Nien and wide to Hume, looking for the run of Dan Neil. Back it comes to Clark. Clark trying to get it inside, but Doherty's got the ball off Jack Clark. It's forced out. It's a throw to Hull on the far side. Michael Beale spins round, strides back to the dugout, plonks himself down. 61st minute. The bench, incidentally, Pembele, Hamir, Burstow, Barr, Bennett, Aushish, Triantis and Rigg. Hull, I don't know if they're looking at possible change. Liam Rosini just suddenly looked down at three players warming up.
I think Billy Sharp is one of them.
It could be. Joe to Ekwa, through to Pritchard. Tried to push on, fouled by Jacob. And this just forward, slightly right of the centre circle. Job leaves it for Ekwa. Hemir starts to warm up, as does Barr. Ball back here, eventually to Ballard, to O'Nien.
Yeah, it looks like Billy Sharp is going to make an appearance. I think it's him that's been called back by Liam the Senior and is currently in discussion.
Sorry, looking for Rusin, but it's come out to Hume, and the first save of the game from Olsop. Hume's shot from 25 yards tipped over. Good effort, actually, from Hume.
It was outstanding technique.
Yeah.
It really was. Undoubtedly the closest Sunderland have came.
It is, and that ball just before from Clark looking for Rusin was a good ball as well, but just wouldn't fall for him.
And then, of course, you get the response from the supporters.
Yes. Can they make the most of this little purple patch? The corner from the left, swung in by Pritchard, headed by Greaves across the penalty area for Job to chase, and he has it on the right now, and he's trying to find a way back in. He finds Ekwa behind him. Ekwa now, he drives it into the penalty area. It's hooked high in the air by Greaves. He clearly didn't hear the keeper if he shouted, but then there's a foul, says the referee, on Slater.
The delivery from the corner from Pritchard was very good, but just nobody was centrally positioned to try and capitalise.
63rd minute, still goalless. And the keeper throws the ball down to take the free kick. Rusin stands in isolation, chases Jones. It's played out to Morton, who plays it back to the goalkeeper. And again, out to Jones. And they're going to bring on Billy Sharp, as you say. 37 years old now. Been playing for LA Galaxy. Joined just before Christmas. He's had a couple of run-outs. And about to come on now here at the Stadium of Light. Back it comes to Patterson. Patterson passing it out to O'Nien. Carvalho goes to close him down. Inside to Ekwa. Then to Hume. Hume into the middle. Ballard just outside the penalty area. And Ballard bringing this out to Sealt on the right, on the touchline, cutting inside. Sealt comes along the halfway line, plays it back to Dan Neil. Neil takes it into the Hull half. Clark's out wide of him. Clark down that left wing. Coyle in front of him. He's got Hume in the penalty area. Clark trying to find a way in. He finds Neil behind him. Neil crosses. No. It's headed out by Greaves. It'll come up into midfield to Tufan, who's knocked off the ball by Sealt. Tufan felt that was a foul. I tend to agree with him, actually. The referee didn't. Joe plays it inside to Ekwa. Ekwa in the middle now, plays it across. It's cut out by Carvalho, but it falls for Job. And Job now trying to get or find an opening. He shoots, it comes off the backside of Slater. Drops for Dan Neil, down the left to Jack Clark. Clark trying to come in past Coyle, pulls this back. Rusin puts it wide. They're looking for the corner, they've got it. The defender was on his shoulder.
There's some impetus now. Absolutely.
Well, while they're on top in these last few minutes and they're creating a few chances, you've got a feeling they've got to score.
Absolutely. You know, because if the game ends goalless, for example, even if Sunderland dominate the last 25 minutes or so, I don't think it's going to cut the mustard with a lot of the supporters if that's brought up, or the possession or the territorial advantage.
There seemed to be a lot of empty seats in the stadium, actually, compared to the first half. The ball swung in by Pritchard and it's flashed across the 6-yard box. Nobody could get on the end of it into the goal kick to Hull.
Great delivery from Pritchard. You know, when you put quality in like that, you don't even always have to be great in the air, you just have to redirect it.
Like Tufan's coming off, Sharp's coming on. In the 66th minute.
The evergreen Billy Sharp.
Extraordinary, really, isn't it? I mean, why would you give up LA Galaxy for Hull City?
Well, they're both in the coast.
There is that going for them, yeah. Although arguably Hull's inland, isn't it? Technically.
Ah, well, okay, right. Will you give me that they're near water?
It's near water.
Oh, they've got a lovely bridge. They've got lovely bridges.
It's got a lovely docks. Anyway, here's Jones playing the ball out wide to Coyle. Coyle closed down by Neil, gets it down the touchline to Doherty. Then Coyle tries to find Billy Sharp. Ballard gets in front of him and whips it back to Patterson. Quite a lot of power on it, but Patterson has the ball. Sharp and Carvalho stand sentinel in front of the penalty area. It's played out on that left side to O'Nien, who tries to take it down the touchline, finds Clark inside to Hume. Hume driving it back, great pass to Clark down the left wing, to Neil, sorry, down the left wing, and Neil's cross into the penalty area, looking for Silt, is caught.
Not a bad idea,
Patterson, but it was a lovely pass initially to get Neil away.
Yeah.
And then you sort of argue, well, you're adventurous there with your passing. Why don't you try a few more, you know, just to try something different?
Well, I mean, I think once you get to this stage of the game, particularly if one team has dominated possession, then there's always the hope that prior to any substitutions that you might exploit the tiredness of one or maybe two of the opposition that they might not pick up.
Sunderland are going to make a change. Job shoots as instructed by the crowd, but it's gone wide. It's a corner. I've got a funny feeling Hamir's going to come on. It's 0-0 still. Pritchard's gone down to take the corner on the left. Again, Rusin in the 6-yard box. I'm just wondering if they're feeling, is there a feeling that they're getting balls into the penalty area now? Do they want a bit of height in there? Pritchard from the left then curls this in, and then Coyle gets his head under it, heads it out. It's dropped onto the head of Jack Clark, who nods it out to Pritchard on the left, and now it's picked up by Ekwa, who's commanded to shoot from 40 yards, and not unpredictably the ball sails away over the top of the bar into the Roker end. 69th minute. I'm guessing Rusin will come off and Amir will go on.
And Hull also are about to make a change.
Another change. Ball out to Alfie Jones. Goalless, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. Coyle back to Allsop. And he's kicked it right upfield, but there's a Hull player down Coyle. And
are we assuming it'll be Rusin coming off for Hamir, that it's like for like?
That's what I've assumed. Alessandro Baccarini's showing Hamir what he wants from him on the pad, and I'm really not sure how much Hamir's taking in of that.
It would be wonderful to see a manager play with two forwards.
It would be nice just to have a go, wouldn't it? At the end,
especially especially when the game's not panned out in the way that you'd hope for.
Yeah.
And it would give Hull something to think about. You know, if it's like for like and there isn't much changing in terms of a tactical approach or strategy, then
there's a gathering of coaches around Hamir.
Yeah.
But what will be the end product? Fourth official just checking him over as the ball comes up the other end. Patterson's caught at the corner of his penalty area and is given a corner, even though Coyle seemed to throw himself out, or is it Billy Sharp?
Patterson's down.
Patterson's on his back. Billy Sharp threw himself at it to try and win it, and took Patterson with him. The corner has been given. This is actually Hull's first corner, remarkably. 71st minute.
I think Billy Sharp used every piece of his 20-year experience in the professional game.
This is not a night for Amir to be standing around on the edge of the pitch, is it?
No, especially when he's rubbing his arms at the moment. This is him having warmed up.
As the ball swept in, low, Greaves gets a touch to it. It's dug out. Pritchard trying to clear it. Jones lays it off to the right. Morton's going to put this back in on his left. Carvalho scores. Carvalho swung his foot at it. Top left corner, and Hull City take the lead in the 71st minute. Sunderland never cleared it.
I mean, he caught it well, although I think it did take a deflection of some sort. But it's against the run of play and what we've seen in the last 10 minutes or so. But
what did we say about that little purple patch? When you're getting those chances, that's when you need to take them. 12 yards out, Carvalho just whipped his right leg round it. Rusyn's coming off, Hamir's coming on. And the crowd, you can hear the reaction.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the hope is that he'll provide the energy that's been expended by Rusyn, but I don't know if it's something that's necessarily going to trouble Hull too much. You would expect them now to play deeper, to be compact and disciplined. They've got something to hold on to, and of course, as you've mentioned, just unable to capitalise on that little period of pressure.
Well, inevitably the crowd's turned, singing "You're Getting Sacked" in the morning, and it's uncomfortable now for Michael Beale. It's uncomfortable for Sunderland. That was Hull's first corner of the evening, and they've scored from it. Hamir, as I say, is on. Ekwa's just been fouled. Billy Sharp, there's a little bit of afters. Referees stepped in. But Carvalho, with his first goal for Hull, is on loan, of course, from Liverpool, has given Hull City the lead. They've got something to hold on to now, with 18 minutes left. And Michael Beale just trying to whip up his players.
This is a test of character.
Certainly.
For all concerned.
Sunderland 0, Hull City 1, throw down the left from Matty Jacob. Comes back up to Hamir, and Hamir gets it back away from Carvalho. Now that's got the crowd warming up to him as the ball played out to Clark on the left-hand side. Clark trying to come in past Coyle, and Coyle getting in front of him. It's Ekwa to Hume, back to Ekwa, and then Pritchard on this right-hand side. Tries to put the ball in the penalty area. It's cleared up towards Carvalho, who's leaning into Ekwa's. One back by Pritchard. Tries to get it, and he does get it across here on the right to Sealt. He's tackled by Lokilo. Lokilo keeps it in and clears, hooks it away, and it's up over the halfway line and back for Luke O'Nien. Forwards to Hume, Sealt inside to Job, and across to Neil, and Neil down the left to Clark. Clark dribbling at Coyle into the penalty area. Clark checks, Doherty's on his shoulder as well. Clark now pulling it back to Ekwa. They're going to yell shoot, and he does. It's well target. Swung well wide of the right post. Slightly desperate.
On his weaker side.
And still 1-0 to Hull. Ryan Alsop will be in no hurry. Drops the ball to Greaves on the left of the 6-yard box, and
just looking
back to the goalkeeper.
The Sunderland players, Nick, looking for somebody to rally the troops, as it were, and it's not forthcoming so far.
It's not. Away goes Doherty, I think, on the right wing. It's one back by O'Nien.
Well played.
Doherty goes with him. It's played out.
Well played again.
To Hume, to Ekwa, down the left. Neil up to the halfway line, Morton in front of him. Ekwa lets it run past him to Ballard. Ballard now turns, plays it to Ekwa inside of him, into Dan Neil. Neil looks to get forwards to Pritchard, it rolls off his foot. Coyle plays it back to Alsop to drive out up to the halfway line, comes back to Luke O'Nien, forwards to Ekwa. We're in the 75th minute. 15 minutes to play, Hull leading 1-0. O'Nien looks for Sealt, overhits it, runs out for a throw to Hull on this left-hand side.
And I think Pritchard's played more centrally now, with Job having come out to the right.
Well,
although he's gone back now.
He's strolled out to the right, hasn't he, again?
Yeah. He's
Matty Jacob with the throw for Hull down the line. It'll be Ballard who deals with this in front of Lokilo. He plays it to O'Nien just behind him, wide on the right here, forced to Job on halfway. Job back to O'Nien. Ekwa in the penalty area, in the centre circle, and Carvalho lurking. Neil, back to Hume.
Pritchard's now going central again.
It's through the middle with Hamir just in front of him.
Interchanging.
Sealt out wide. Clark out wide on the other side. Neil bringing this into the Hull half. Clark jogging down and running onto the ball on the left. He's going to try and bring this into the penalty area again. He pulls it back, and Billy Sharp is at the edge of his area to play it back to Matty Jacob to clear up to the halfway line, and Luke O'Nien in the 77th minute. Ballard on the right, Ballard inside to Ekwa to O'Nien in the centre circle, down the left to Clark. Humes jogging to the corner of the penalty area. Clark pulls it back to O'Nien in the middle, just in front of the centre circle, to Ballard, and Ballard now to Ekwa, Pritchard in the middle, closed down by Slater. To his left is Neil. Dan Neil brings this forwards and plays it out to Jack Clark on the left of the penalty area. Coyle in front of him. Clark pulls it back to Pritchard, who tries a shot. It's blocked. It spins up and onto the head of Billy Sharp, and eventually out to the left where Dan Neil's won it back. Running through for Pritchard in the penalty area. He's down the left. He tries to cross. He does, but it's caught by the keeper. Floated over Hamir, and Allsop was there to gather it for Hull City in the 78th minute.
And does that thing that's became commonplace with goalkeepers: you catch it, then fall on the floor.
Just waste time.
Exactly.
Runs the clock down.
Within the laws, but against the spirit.
Yes. See, the dilemma Sunderland, of course, have got is if they throw everything forwards, if Hull come away and break away and get a second, it's game over. Ball floats out from the kick for a throw, and Hull won't lose any sleep over that. The ball's down in the Sunderland half. It's out. It's a throw. It'll come back to Patterson. Patterson just passes it back across to the left. On the corner of the penalty area is O'Nien. Down the left wing, Hume. Clark gets to get away down the left. Hume carries on. Clark's behind him, inside to Hamir. Hamir now shoots straight at Allsop. Still, it's on target. He's forced the keeper into making a save.
I think the keeper was a little bit unsure of his positioning for a moment there.
So Allsop just ushering his centre halves forwards. Hamir lurks, and Allsop will kick this upfield, gets it up the other end, high in the air. Billy Sharp's got a little push in the back from O'Nien. O'Nien heads the ball away, headed on by Dan Neil. Greaves puts it back over the top, and O'Nien hooks it away again to the Hull right. Carvalho getting in front of Dan Neil, and Carvalho holding him off, leaving it. No, he tries to come inside, and Neil gets it back from the tackle from Hume. Pritchard, he can't get it away, can't dig it out from Slater, and then Ekwa wins it. Finds Neil now, but it's shown too much of it to Coyle, who swings it out on this left wing for a throw to Sunderland.
Carvalho down.
Carvalho hauled up by Trey Hume, but I think we're going to see a lot of this in the last 10 minutes.
So 2 subs for Sunderland.
We're going to see Pembele and Barr. So some fresh legs in a bid to find an equaliser. Free kick to Sunderland, wide on the left, just outside the penalty area. Who's going to come off? Pritchard will take the free kick. Pembele and Barr.
I would do the same as before. On the left-hand side,
whip it in.
Right foot, in swinger, towards the far post. Players running across.
10 minutes to go. Maybe trying to equalise.
Maybe even an OG.
Take anything at the moment. Anything. Pritchard with the free kick then. A one-man wall. Carvalho whipped in low, headed away by Coyle, and it's out to Hume. Back down into the path of O'Nien, trying to flick it into Ballard. It comes back out to Pritchard. He tries to curl it back in. Coyle, it comes off his head. Doherty heads it out. Neil volleys it wide.
Oh. Less than 10 to go of the regulation.
Well, Sealt's coming off, so Pembele will be his replacement. And Ekwa. So the 81st minute there, the changes. Hamir, Pembele and Barr all on now. And Ryan Allsop having a word with the referee, something or other, before he picks up the ball and takes a kick. Hull have made only one change, they're about to make another. And they're bringing on Sean McLaughlin. So they're just freshening things up for this, what they will assume is going to be a bit of an onslaught from Sunderland. I use that word loosely. Sunderland 0, Hull City 1 in the 82nd minute. The ball back from Job to Ballard under pressure from Carvalho. Patterson kicks it clear up to the halfway line, looking for Hemir, who's backing into Jones and leaves it for Pritchard. Now that is, that's what you want your number 9 to do, isn't it? Hold it up, bring Pritchard into play, and then Hemir carries on his run. And Pritchard's away here. He's looking to try and get it here in the middle to Barr. He's wrestled off the ball. Billy Sharp's trying to dig it out, but Neil's won it back, and it's played by Barr out to Pembele on this right hand side. He rolls it back to Barr in the penalty area. Barr on the goal line, couldn't dig it out quite, and the keeper, no, I think the keeper's right.
Yeah.
I think the ball was out of play before he touched it, and the referee's going to book the keeper, Allsop. But I think he was legitimately saying the ball had already gone out when the corner was awarded. So maybe that little bit of stroke of luck.
Because it wasn't a good cross from Barr.
No, it wasn't.
It was going out if it hadn't been touched.
It's Carvalho's coming off for McLaughlin. They're getting him off before the corner's taken.
I mean, if there are no more goals, Nick, I think the fact Carvalho will have scored the winning goal and the only goal will just add insult to injury when we think about recruitment. And
indeed, I think a number of people said, why are Hull getting Carvalho, why aren't we? Well, it's 1-0 at the moment to Hull. It's 83rd minute, 83 minutes played, 84th minute. Pritchard with this corner from the right. Hemir's making a nuisance of himself. The ball whipped in by Pritchard, too close to the near post, and the first man headed away and out for a throw to Sunderland, and it was Billy Sharp who headed it out. Pembele with the throw to Hume on the halfway line right of the centre circle. Now to Job, leaves it for Neil. Neil to Hume, and he's played it out wide here on the right to Pembele, inside to Barr. Barr is trying to come round Jacob and Slater, and it's found Pritchard, but then Lokilo cuts it out, leaves it behind him, and it's whipped forwards out by Billy Sharp again. Ballard with a throw on halfway, and Hume is now playing in midfield. So they've thrown basically everybody forwards, taking a bit of a gamble, taking a bit of a risk. Pembele's made a run, but Job still has the ball, plays it inside to Barr. We're out on the right hand side here. Barr leaves it for Job. Job taps it back to Barr on the touchline, inside again to Job. Job now in the middle to Pritchard, looking for the run of Barr, who's bundled off the ball at the edge of the penalty area. Pembele can't get on it on the goal line, and it's a goal kick to Hull in the 85th minute.
Greaves has been good at the back, commanding, leader-like.
Well, 40,219. I find that a bit of a stretch, actually, to believe.
Well, there might have been that possibly at some point in the first half, but I don't think there's that
definitely
now.
Not now, but I don't even think at kick-off it was as high as that. But there you go, a goal kick from Hull, from Allsop, swings it down the right, headed on by Billy Sharp, looking for Doherty, but it's come back to Patterson, and Patterson tapping it out now to O'Nien, to Dan Neil. Neil across to Ballard, coming forwards here on the right hand side. Pembele was looking to make a run down the right, it's gone inside though. Ballard to Dan Neil. Neil up to the halfway line and out wide on the left hand side. And Clark looking now for the run of Hume, and the ball played into Pritchard, put behind by a defender, Jones. And another corner for Sunderland. It's their 8th corner of the game. I mean, it's,
I think almost all of them have been on the left hand side.
8 corners Sunderland have had. Hull had one and scored from it. Okay, on the, if you like, the second ball, because Sunderland didn't clear it.
It was.
But here's Pritchard from the left then, with this corner kick.
Equaliser coming up.
And is whipped it in, curled it in, and it's headed away by Jones. Oh, and two players go down. Ballard and Doherty, I think, whoever it is, they both got up, and the defender wasn't happy. Hume puts it back in the penalty area. It's cleared again. Comes out to Clark. Clark looking for a way in past Morton. Dashes towards the goal line. It's put behind for another corner. A 9th Sunderland corner. Pritchard again.
Almost all of them have been from the left.
You know, it's interesting because you think, wouldn't you think about changing, maybe having Clark take one?
Well,
just mix it up a bit.
The delivery's been decent.
Here it comes in towards Ballard. He heads it into the 6-yard box for a whole huddle of players. It's the goalkeeper, though, it falls on it.
Ironically, that was one of the less decent ones, and yet it ended up
causing problems. Allsop gets to his feet, just clutches his face for a moment, drops the ball. Referee's picked it up, is giving it back to him. I think he's mindful of the time waste. Now Aliar is coming on. He's coming on for Lokilo, Iranian striker, 22-year-old. So Hull has sort of psychologically just sort of mixed it up again by throwing a striker on with a couple of minutes left to play, and
it should make no odds to Sunderland, Nick.
It shouldn't.
They have to just press it forward.
They've just got to go for it. They've got to try and find a goal from somewhere.
If it means you get beat 2-0, so be it.
Yeah, but they've got to, at the very least, get an equaliser. It's a throw to Hull. Hamir had to chase away and get the ball and lob it back to Coyle to take the throw. We played 88 minutes. Hull lead 1-0. 71st minute goal from Fabio Carvalho. The throw from Coyle down the right wing. Sharp looking to get on the end of it. It will come back to Patterson. Sharp gives chase. Patterson, crashes off Sharp as he tried to clear it. Aliar wins.
Sunderland have done well to get a free kick.
Yeah, I thought Aliar was going to get the free kick, but it's the other way round. Aliar was trying to plead, and he's got a yellow card. It's almost become comical, actually, the number of yellow cards that Hull have picked up. That's their 7th.
Not that it matters too much, but no, I think there's some monetary punishment. If
they're over 5, I think you get punished, don't you? The club gets punished. Neil brings this forwards, wide to Clark on the left during the 89th minute. Clark trying to dribble at Doherty, calling for it as Jobe in the middle. Clark still has it. Comes back to O'Nien. Ballard. Aliar went to close him down. Sharp's there in the middle as well. It's played to Dan Neil. Dan Neil out wide to Clark. Coyle goes to close him down. Clark's cross. Whips through to Hamir.
Well done.
Took it down on his chest but couldn't turn on it, and he couldn't get it back to Pritchard. Pritchard's indicating it should have been played to his feet, but it's been played back to the halfway line, and now Barr is trying to get away from Aliar. Someone's left the boot. Barr has left a boot behind him. Pritchard's taken the free kick for the foul on Barr.
Added time is about to go up.
Yep, how much? I don't think that'll be a huge amount. He didn't play a lot in the first half. There have been a lot of substitutions. There haven't been a great deal of stoppages. Clark's trying to dribble into the penalty area again. Played it back behind him to Hume, and a shot from Neil. Was it a shot? Was it a cross? Difficult to say. It's blocked. It's come out here. Billy Sharp's trying to bring this out away to the right-hand side. Well, we've got 5 minutes.
5 added.
Out for a throw. We're into the first of those 5 minutes then.
There we go. And there's the
Ballard.
Response from the crowd.
See, the crowd now sense there's time, at the very least, to equalise. Pembele back to Jobe. Jobe to O'Nien in the centre circle. Then to Dan Neil. Wide to Clark. Pritchard inside. Hume's inside. Clark's cross looking for Mir, but it's bounced over him back to Allsop. And Ballard's up there as well, being hauled to his feet by Coyle, limping a bit. Ballard.
Yes. He may as well stay up.
He might as well. There's nothing to lose now, is there, in his last few minutes? You're looking to try and get a goal. You want to come out the game with something. So, Allsop's kick in front of Hemir, sails up towards Billy Sharp, wrestles with the imposing figure O'Nien over him.
That's all you want from Billy Sharp in situations like this. Nuisance of yourself.
Just a nuisance, yeah.
Win the throw in.
He's busy, I think is
Exactly,
the word.
yeah.
He's busy. Jacob with a throw, long throw down the left wing, down into the corner, looking for Billy Sharp. He went out, straight out. A throw now to Sunderland. Barr whips the ball off the cone for Pembele to take the throw. Back to Ballard behind him. He's got O'Nien in the penalty area. And it's played into Patterson. Patterson passing it out to Hume on the far side. Hume back into the middle to O'Nien. Pembele looking again to make a dash down the right. Has to check that impulse, and it's played out to him eventually. Slips it past Jacob to Barr, but Aliar comes in and knocks it out. Throw to Sunderland down the right. We've played 2 minutes of the 5. It's 1-0 still to Hull City. It comes back from the throw to O'Nien into Dan Neil, and out wide on the left to Jack Clark. Clark taking on Coyle. He's running at him into the penalty area, gets in front of him, Coyle, and then knocks the ball out for a corner. Just made contact.
I think in the main, Coyle has actually marked Jack Clark
He's
pretty
done well, bearing in mind he's on a yellow card as well.
Yeah, he seems to have his body shape correct.
Patterson's up.
Yeah.
Well, this would be a story if Anthony Patterson was to equalise.
The only thing that would be a bigger story would be if a centre forward actually
Yes,
scored.
that's probably true. As it's swept in here and headed away by Greaves. It's Clark who's brought it down and played it out to Pritchard on the left. Spins up, brings it down on his right, drives it back into the box. Slater heads it clear. Pritchard heads it back to Jack Clark. Clark trying to get away from Aliar. Aliar holding his face, and Clark's penalised. Clark's going to get booked.
I don't doubt that Jack Clark may have caught him, but it must have been in the process of trying to get away.
Aliar played up to that. Clark booked, free kick to Hull, 94th minute. Aliar's reaction to me says it all.
I mean, Jack Clark looked as if he'd gone by somebody.
He tried to
and
go
yet
past,
he's been
a bit physical, but nothing worse than that, really. I think the referee's been suckered in there.
And it just might be the final reprieve for Hull, because I've got no doubt they'll take their time. They'll try and put it in the corner, and then contain Sunderland, and we're about to approach the 95th minute.
We'll add on another 30, 40, maybe a minute for this stoppage. We played 94 minutes now. The ball floats down the right towards that right corner, headed away by Ballard. Comes up to Hemir, is in his own half still, a foot in, takes the ball back to Patterson from the substitute Sean McLaughlin. He's in the heart of defence now. They put numbers up, and the header away by Greaves. Drops for Pritchard. Now it's loose. Aliar is on it, and he runs into Dan Neil, and makes a very good challenge and takes the ball away. Tries to slip it to Pritchard and does, and gets it to Clark. We're in the last minute, but there may be just a little bit more, as Clark now dribbles into the penalty area, still going, pulls it back, but a foot of Jones puts it behind for another corner. Clark tried to pull it back from the goal line.
Yeah, he did get the better of Coyle there, but Coyle got back well to put him off a little.
Pritchard then, an 11th Sunderland corner. Everybody up in the penalty area apart from Clark and Hume. Pritchard the corner taker. He swings this in, Pembele and Barr, and it's on the head of a defender. Slater headed back in by Hume. Patterson's still up, the ball headed out. Hume has to chase back, and it's all over. And not unsurprisingly, boos ring out around the stadium. The Sunderland players flat out, and you can hear the supporters away to our right are not happy. This is a big game for Michael Beale. It makes the Stoke game next weekend even bigger. We talked about must-win games. We talked about the situation the club finds itself in at the moment, the situation Michael Beale finds himself in.
Well, I'm aware, guys. I'm not talking
this
on my
is
stream.
not
I
the
can't
result
hang
he
around
needed.
any longer for this. Like, that's
No,
just like.
I mean, I think if he was going to convince a significant constituency within the support, then it would have had
Mr.
to
Bean,
have
we'll catch you later,
been
guys.
result
Catch you
and
later.
performance.